Hey everyone! Old School Pokemon here, back again with the PokeFlipz podcast, joined by my usual co-host, KetchumAllCollectibles Dan. And today joining us all the way from the UK, we got PokiChloe and That Lab Frank Harry.
Hello.
Appreciate you guys joining us today.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so very, very thankful that you guys were able to come on. I think it goes without saying who you are. I think everyone who knows us knows you guys. But just real quickly, who are you? Where can we find you? I did link everything in the description.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Chloe, and this is Harry, or
Harry.
PokiChloe, That Lab Frank. We're married, which is to some people's surprise because everyone thinks I'm married to Dean. But yeah, I'm actually married to this guy. So yeah, we're from the UK. We've actually got a Pokemon shop in the UK, Collector's Card House. I do YouTube videos. You post up on Instagram occasionally.
Yeah, I don't do videos very often.
No, Polytoad here or there. And yeah, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and out in the wild as well.
So I think one of our first topics we can jump right into, I did have a couple things thrown up here. Your full-time Pokemon journey. Everyone watching PokeFlipz pretty much knows Nick and I's story. We're both full-time for a couple years. Everyone knows what we used to do. Whatever you have to share on that front, like what are both of your backgrounds? How did that whole taking the plunge decision go? And whatever you want to cover on that.
Yeah, so I have always worked in just a normal office, like office admin jobs previously, ever since I left school. I didn't go to university. I went to college, and then, well, we call it college, which is what you guys call uni, but it's not the same thing. Basically, at 18, I finished my education. I went into work and had worked just a full-time job ever since, mainly in like the healthcare setting. And then if you want to talk about what you did before we...
I run a company in production. It was just like small piece production, supplying to the UK mainly. And now I suppose you've been full-time Pokemon a lot longer than me.
Yeah.
She took the plunge early, but obviously you were sort of more trying to build upon that earlier than anything I was doing.
I took it
like YouTube and
I think I started doing this all full time in November 2021. I think is when it all started actually like getting really serious, and then you joined me probably a year later. It was never the plan.
22. I think,
yeah, it was never the plan for Harry to. I mean, he had a very successful business himself, so I never thought that he would do it full time. But then he can't not like work or get involved. He doesn't know how to rest. He doesn't know how to have a day off or a minute off, or so he was really getting into it as well. And then it kind of just was.
I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, it was like a natural progression, I think.
Yeah. It was a nice change.
Cool. Yeah, I still can't believe I'm coming up on 3 years now full time, and 5 years ago, I don't know about you guys, but like 5 years ago, if you had told me that I'd be doing Pokemon cards full time, like just completely. Not even a thing. Maybe Nick more. Nick was doing kind of a on the ship for 6 months. Nick was like almost full time, but like part time, full time. That weird situation. So maybe Nick expected it more. Yeah. But that's awesome that we're all here doing this full time, chatting with a bunch of people watching us doing this Q&A and all that. So. More recently now, obviously, the first couple of years, it was more the website, the breaking, the YouTube, the card shop. So with a card shop, I think a lot of people in this space like go into it not knowing fully what's there. And I think no amount of preparation can really make it so there's not going to be any little surprises, maybe pleasant ones, unpleasant ones. So like what are some things, and I know I watched some of the content, great content with regards to like actually putting together, I might know what one of the answers is, but like one unpleasant surprise from starting an LGS and all that, and then one unpleasant surprise.
Unpleasant surprise is dealing with the like tradesmen and contractors. No one ever
shop
does
sign that you talked about. I remember that story. Yeah.
Okay. No one could ever stick to any form of timeline they gave us, and we started to base opening the shop off of the timelines we were being given. And I think maybe one of like the floor went down when it was meant to go down. But I don't think anything else happened when it was meant to happen. And then it's like I feel like people don't understand the knock-on effect of that. You're trying to open a business basically. So yeah, that was kind of like unpleasant. I don't know if you have any like unpleasant.
I mean,
the money as well, the amount of money we spent. Oh yeah, we had
buying the building and not knowing there was going to be a load of damp that needed sorting out, like all those sort of small things prior to actually like the business existing in the space. You obviously have to get the space ready. So
yeah, so I think when I started putting out the videos of like the shop process, and since doing like the vendor stuff, everyone's like, oh, how do you afford it? Like the typical questions, and like, oh, this is stupid, like the rent must be so high, blah blah blah. But we actually bought the building that the shop is in as more of like an investment opportunity, as well as putting our business in it. But yeah, once we had already bought the building, we found out there was quite a severe damp problem in the shop, so we had to
fix that before.
And that cost a lot of money before we could even put floor down or buy furniture, like anything. So yeah, that was a little bit of a shock, but we managed to get through that. That's also why it took so long from the point of us actually getting the keys to opening the doors. It was about a 6.5 month period, I
7
think.
months, I think. Yeah.
So everyone was like, "Oh, can you just do it and open it?" I'm like, "No, I can't. Like, I wish I could."
Wish it's that easy.
Yeah, pleasant surprise. I think just the turnout of like people.
Like the response.
Yeah. We're in what we would call here a village. So it's kind of like a small countryside kind of town.
Outskirts of the city.
We are connected directly to London. The train line that is the underground. We have an underground station, like literally opposite the shop, and it takes you directly into central London in about 35 minutes.
It's really easy. It's just like a bit of a journey.
So we're in the suburbs basically, and I think I wasn't sure, like, especially on weekdays, like how many people would actually be turning up and walking in the door. But I mean, again, this week I was surprised. Like Thursday was like a busy day, like people coming in all day, and so I think the actual like response of like people actually walking into the store has been a pleasant surprise for us.
Awesome. And then I don't know if you want to jump into, because it kind of leads, but I was curious as like how many people who come into the shop come in because they know either like your YouTube channel or PokeDean from YouTube, versus how much of it is like just like organic people who didn't know you guys before coming in.
So where we actually are situated, there's a couple of like big schools. It's actually one of your old high school, secondary school, we call it here. So like all the school kids, they're no idea who we are. Like they don't care. They just like Pokemon cards, especially like some of the younger ones. So we get a lot of like the school kid foot traffic like in the afternoon when they finish school. We've had quite a lot of people say we've seen a video. So basically, I don't really use TikTok. I occasionally post on there, maybe a couple of times a month. I don't do anything special on there. And I did this one little video where it was like, come to my shop type thing. It was like 20 seconds, like walked in really quick, walk around. And we had someone come in today, be like, I saw you on TikTok. A lot of people saying we saw your TikTok. And I'm like, that I just don't understand, because I don't think it's even got that many views. But I think what it does is, someone said on TikTok, it targets locally. So I think people do like a 20, 30 minute radius of where we are, because he said he was like 20 minutes away.
More than others.
So we've had quite a lot of like, that's one thing like I keep hearing all the time, like, oh, we saw on TikTok. I'm like, I don't even remember what TikTok it was, but we do have quite a few people from like the community that have made a trip. So they don't come in every week, but people have, made a little weekend of it. They've traveled down from up north, which is, a few hours away. I'd say it's like a 50-50 split of knowing who we are versus just people showing up and they've searched a local card shop and we've popped up because we're now open.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, I didn't know the number off the top of my head, but 73,000 followers on YouTube. Very, very big number in a lot of ways. But like in the grand scheme of things, I mean, there's billions of people in the world, and it's not like 1% of that is within drivable distance or walkable distance of you likely. Like but it's interesting to hear how much just organic traffic is there. And then the follow-up question I was going to have, like, how many of those kids and things learn about PokiChloe? How many of those end up almost siphoning the other way? I think a lot of people would assume the LGS would get a lot of siphoning over from PokiChloe, but maybe the converse happens more, actually. Like, people start following your online presence. Yeah.
Do you know who's really, Dean is such a good little like advertiser. Like when people come in, we've got little business cards that have collector's card house details, and they've got our 2 logos on them, and literally all day, every day, all I hear him say is, "That's PokiChloe, I'm PokiDean, check us out on YouTube." Like, I get a bit like, "Do you watch YouTube?" Like, I feel a bit weird saying that to people. Like, yeah, watch my videos. But yeah, we've had a couple of kids like locally say, "Oh, we've been watching the videos," and their parents have come in and said, "Oh, they've sat down." And so I know some kids aren't like allowed to sit in front of a screen and watch YouTube, so I don't want to encourage it if their parents are like, "No, they can't do that." But yeah, we had a bit of an uptake, I think.
Yeah, I think that's also relevant to the like sales side of the business, because I actually think, contrary to what a lot of people would think, we actually, in my opinion, do a lot more buying as a store than actual selling as a store. So it's got that weird, obviously it's beneficial to us because obviously we have rates that we buy at, so it works well for us. But I think we actually do a lot more buying than we ever anticipated would like walk through the door.
Mm-hmm. Overall, would you say that that's like, so you're buying there and then you're selling on like live streams, selling through various other selling platforms,
reselling back in the store or other avenues? Yeah.
Do you think the way that you're doing it, it could kind of stand alone, or do you think the online presence to offload the inventory is almost a requirement? I think most LGSs, these day and ages, or maybe not most, but probably many of them, especially through the pandemic, it became almost a requirement that people have some kind of an online presence. So how much of that interaction is like necessary, do you think?
I think a lot of the success of the physical store comes from Chloe and Dean selling online. I think as a physical standalone store, the buying and selling would struggle to cover all of its outgoings. I think maybe if it obviously had like an online, like if I started a YouTube and Instagram as the store and started trying to build that up, it might find like enough success to sort of roll it over. But I think a lot of it comes down to Chloe and Dean in terms of like the instant pickup and be able to say, if something comes into the store, "Oh, Chloe, that'd be great for you to do a stream on," or something like that.
Yeah.
It gives a really good, easy outlet for the store to sort of succeed with that.
Yeah.
How often are you guys streaming?
A lot.
So on average, I normally stream 5 times a week. So it's normally twice on YouTube, twice on Whatnot, give or take, maybe once or twice a week on Whatnot. And then I do my Sunday night PWCC live stream, which is it's a late one. It finishes at 4 a.m. and then the shop opens at 11 a.m. on a Monday. So normally Mondays I'm not the nicest person to deal with, if I'm honest. But yeah, so selling streams, it's normally 3 or 4 a week for me, and it's about the same for Dean as well at the moment.
Oh wow, okay. That is a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah, it's heavy.
I think so much of doing business in cardboard is just knowing the right places to acquire things and then optimizing like through which means you're going to sell them. It's a very effective business model to just have a way to tap into each one of those things: conventions, physical brick and mortar, and then the vast array of platforms we have for online. Like being tapped into all of them and just knowing where to divert everything is such a huge part of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Walrus here, one of our moderators. Can you talk down upon opening a shop and discourage Nick, please? So ask it in a very funny way, but like honestly, I think it's a passion and kind of like a long-term goal for many people in this space. Like, oh, I would love to own an LGS, but maybe talk a little bit more on what kind of runway. And you mentioned a little bit already. You bought it more of as an investment thing, and it just so happened to work out. But like maybe caution some people out there, like what kind of runway did you put down? What kind of foundation did you have having all the backing of the online presence? And maybe just talk on that a little bit.
Originally, we were actually looking, because of all the online orders and the streams, we were actually just looking for an office to employ a few people to like distribute from, basically, with all the packaging and all that sort of stuff. And then the more we thought about it, the more we just thought like it's only going to cost us, I'd say a small amount, obviously it's a chunk, but in relative terms of buying a building already, it's only a little bit more to buy a building on a high street and then try like the whole shop aspect. So I mean, we didn't really do too much calculation into it. We more just thought this would be fun. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. It's been a lot. I mean, we've had the online. So alongside my streaming stuff, I had started the online website as well of selling the sealed product just to see where that would go. And because that started doing well, it then we thought made sense to actually have the physical side of that. But I mean, I mean, we have given up our entire life. You know, we sold everything, including our home, to do it all. And it's like, when I think people sometimes see like the videos and they see the streams and all these things, they're like, oh, they just sit online and make a couple of videos and sell some Pokemon cards. Like, there's so much more, especially the business side of it, that goes into it. I mean, you don't have a minute to breathe at the moment with all the back end stuff we have to do and barcoding and all our systems and stuff. Like, it's not, I mean, maybe some people can just set up a little pop-up shop and it goes great, but
it's easy to make it look smooth running on a YouTube video.
There's
compared
so
to the actual,
much
like,
that happens day to
workload.
day. Staff management, you know, so you're managing people, you're managing a business, you're then managing everything within those like umbrellas as well. So it's a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah, very dangerous thing with social media is to see like the curated outward view on what people present. Like I don't know who said it. I don't know who to attribute this to, but don't compare your everyday to someone else's highlight reel. I know you did that like a vendor POV style video where it was from like an LGS POV video. That was really cool to see like just the journey throughout a day, and days can vary so much. It's not like that captures everything. But really cool to see that.
I filmed that on a Thursday. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, just after we got back. And I thought, I'm going to film a Thursday because it could be the most awful realistic day, like be really quiet. People will see what it's like. You don't always get the customers, or it could be busy. And actually, it was a fairly steady day for a Thursday. I'm actually planning to film again this weekend. We all play Pokemon Go quite heavily. Me specifically. I love the game, and it's Go Fest Global this weekend, so we've decided to try and encourage people to come into the store. We're doing like percentage off the Pokemon Go product, but we're also a Pokestop as well, so like you can spin the stop and you get the little postcard and stuff. But I'm gonna film this weekend and just see how the video does show like a really busy weekend, because weekends sometimes are so busy you blink and like 5 hours have gone by and you don't even know what you've done because there's been so many people. So I'm going to try and capture like peak customer footfall and see how that kind of video does as well, where maybe I'm not talking to the camera as much because it's literally just constant.
One thing I've always wondered a little bit with those, like I've seen Bulbasaur set up at the things. And you see the camera and it's obvious. Do you post anything outside the store, like, hey, recording in progress? You might end up in a video, something along those lines.
Yeah, like putting a sign on the door just saying recordings basically taking place. So our cameras are really, me and Dean both use really small cameras. We use the little DJ pocket things, and I mean they're tiny. They're about this big. They don't look like a camera. So I don't think some people sometimes realise, whereas I think Bulbasaur's got one like a really big like DSLR, which is like glaringly obvious. The lens is like in your face. But yeah, I mean, we normally, when we're filming, have a mic on, so it's normally kind of obvious. And then I start talking to it, and people obviously will start realizing I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to the camera. But people kind of gather by the time they come in, and we're sort of like doing stuff and showing it that there's
I mean, today, like Dean was filming today as a new video for his channel. And he kept saying to people, do you mind being on camera? And a lot of the time the parent would like put their kid in front and be like, he's fine, and then like step back and, like, but yeah, that's quite fun today to see that.
When are we gonna start seeing you making appearances? You're always just like walking by.
He's always just in the background. We need to mic you up, and then you've got like you have to talk to the camera.
You probably need to cut quite a few bits out if you might.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank you.
Nice to get. I was actually watching the other one, the one you just did, and I commented like, "Where's Frank?" Because I had my dog sitting next to me at the time. And then at the end, I came back. I'm like, I didn't leave the video early. I just hadn't seen him yet. Like 37 minutes into the video or something, he showed up.
Yeah.
Frank does make appearances in the shop now and again.
He's really weird. He doesn't like certain floor, as in he gets scared to walk on it. And the shop floor he hates, so we don't really tend to bring him in there, especially when it's busy, because I think he'd panic and he wouldn't really know where to go. So we tend to bring him down when it gets quieter, or like the end of the day when we just closed, and he'll come into the store and hang out with us for a bit.
He finds the floor like a little bit slippy, but then he puts his claws out, and then it makes it even worse, and it makes him like skid, and then he like scurries along the floor.
So it's better just avoiding it, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably like a traction thing. My house I'm in now like doesn't have much carpet, and the harder floors are just tougher, especially once they're older. Some dogs have a harder time navigating that.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the card shop, I'm trying to think if there's any other topics on the card shop topic before we pivot, because I definitely do want to talk a fair bit about conventions. Nick and myself do travel to quite a few. Nick, did you have any more on the card shop specifically? I guess one thing I can ask quickly, like PokiChloe, Pokemon is the primary. What other TCGs are you doing? I know some of these answers, but just I guess I don't know the full extent of them. I know in a recent video you talked about like the right serialized Magic cards maybe, and certain things you deal in. But what's your split Pokemon to other things?
So very heavy Pokemon. When we first started the website, when it was Chloe's Card House and it wasn't Collector's Card House, we actually went pretty heavy on Magic, Digimon, Dragon Ball, Flesh and Blood. It was available to us for a little bit before they then changed the process of how you buy it. So we still have a small selection of Magic, Digimon, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Almost all the other TCG stuff we have is left over from when we bought it.
Yeah, apart from like when Lord of the Rings collab came out, the new Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't think we've got any new Dragon Ball at the moment. No. So yeah, we have other TCG available. We definitely don't put as much time into making sure we have the new sets for
a lot of the other TCG is like sealed product, so we won't really stock like Yu-Gi-Oh singles or Dragon Ball singles. We'll just stock like the latest box, or randomly have like some old stock that we've had for a couple of years that will just be on the shelf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think the UK is pretty much like, I think, and I could be wrong here, Asmodee, are they like the one carrier of Pokemon internationally? So you're tied in with Asmodee. Do you do stuff with like Pokemon organized play? You have a set day that you have like league events, things like that, or not really?
So not yet. It is something we were looking into. We just haven't set it up yet. Everything's been quite hectic, so we're just taking it one step at a time.
But we do have an area already dedicated to being able to sit down and open packs or sit down and play. It was set up so that it could be players sitting opposite each other, basically. So we basically have the space ready to go. We just haven't set any of it up yet, but we have a lot of people asking when sort of the leagues and the TCG side of things will start kicking off a bit more.
Cool. And Mr. Walrus actually had another good question. At what point, or have you considered a second location? I know it's very early on in this first location, but are you gonna potentially ever expand? Is that anywhere in the
Thomas put in the chat hashtag Florida branch. That's one of my mods and one of our friends, Green Tea. I'll open a Florida branch, definitely.
Yeah, I think
you're gonna go worldwide with it.
Collector's Card House 2.0 would probably be Philadelphia, but
I can't envision at the moment even trying to open another branch.
It's probably a lot to wrap your mind around so early in the stages, but a couple of years, I mean, you get more things kind of on autopilot, maybe get some more employees hired to.
One of the main things at the minute, like you say, there with like the autopilot and having things like smooth running, is that we're generally in the store every day.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard to have somewhere open at the moment where we weren't physically there, sort of making it tick, basically.
Yeah.
To sort of remove Chloe and Dean is a little bit easier because obviously they've still got their sales channels online where they can sell the stock through. But to actually remove all of us and have another location would be quite a tricky logistical sort of problem to try and overcome.
Definitely be like a 2-3 year down the line point, evaluating where we are and then seeing if that was obviously possible, depending on what we're all doing as well ourselves.
And
are you guys still thinking of coming to Philly? Or is that like out of the question now with the store?
No, still something we want to do. Yeah. Still
okay.
So
we just made it a little bit more difficult by opening a store here.
Yep.
We just added in like an extra stepping stone, pretty much.
Yeah, that definitely ties you to it. And what I was gonna say is, I guess Nick and I are both at a spot where some amount of our business has changed a fair bit. Nick has gone like eBay Live, doing a lot of the streaming himself. Yeah. I plan on adding a streaming aspect to my business, but I don't really want to be the whole face of it. Maybe I'll do it from time to time. And but everyone has different goals. Everyone has different plans. So I was going to kind of ask you, like, would you be open to, or maybe like, is that already the plan? Share as much or as little as you want to. Like, do you want to staff this store ultimately where in some day it could just kind of run itself and you have employees doing it? Or do you always want to be, because I think this is more Nick. Nick wants to be the face. He wants to be the guy streaming, and he doesn't really have any short, medium, long-term plans to change that. Whereas I'm a little more open to, like, I want to get things rolling, maybe be more deeply involved for the outset, and then kind of like find ways to pass it off.
Yeah.
I think one of the trickiest things, I suppose, is staffing. From speaking to other people we know, mainly in the US, to be honest, with stores, it's always the first thing they say is sort of trusting staff members to run it without your presence. And not only to run it well, but just to have that full trust in them that they're doing everything sort of in their power to benefit the business.
Yeah.
I think one of the standout things for us is when we think about trying to sort of employ someone on a higher level for the store, that we're comfortable in the knowledge that they know what they're doing as well. It always comes down to that they're already doing it for themselves. So then they don't want to work for a store, if that makes sense. It's hard finding that person who you can trust that knows what they're doing, but at the same time wants to do it for someone else.
Yep.
It's quite a tricky
very
sort of person
niche
to find.
Very niche to employ in this space.
Yeah, because one of the concerns that you run into is someone competent enough, experienced, knowledgeable enough. Why wouldn't they be doing it themselves? And certain people, those people do exist, absolutely, but not they're not a dime a dozen. Like they're hard to find. They're definitely
especially
very
when
hard.
you open a store in a small village on the outskirts of somewhere.
It's not that.
Yeah.
I mean, like for me personally, I always want to be able to come and go from the store, but my idea is that I'm not there every single day, like running it day to day.
We always planned it as like do this event day with Chloe and do this event day with Dean,
like
so
a trade
people
night or something.
Specifically wanting to see you two, it's like a planned event where you can.
It's really hard being there every day and trying to keep up with all the streams and trying to do everything else. Like everything takes a hit basically because you can't do it all properly at once. So I would like to be able to eventually focus a bit more on, I like filming and the content side of things and traveling and all that sort of stuff, but I also love having the shop, so it's now just finding the balance of how to manage the two alongside each other, really.
I think it's definitely a much easier option to be I say easy, obviously it's not easy, but it's a much easier option to be the face and have control of everything. It's just a lot easier to manage, but obviously
it takes all your time, so it's you can't really win.
One other question I did have, just for fun for the shop, is what's some of the coolest stuff that's come in that you've been able to buy so far?
That's what I was just going to bring up.
We had one of the cooler ones was every sealed product from Generations.
Oh yeah, that was a cool one.
The guy sold us. He had 4 sets. So he sold us 2 full sets, which also came with PokiChloe boxes, so the Japanese counterpart in booster boxes. So we got 2 of those. He still kept 2 and said he might sell them down the line. But stuff like that's quite a cool. I think I messaged, was it Nick? I think I messaged when we had a first edition base set come in. He actually ended up not selling that to us, and he consigned it through an auction house in the UK. I think he ended up selling like £2,000 or £3,000 less than what we offered him for that entire collection.
Yeah, I think maybe he was unsure, like just coming to a random shop and selling it, and obviously the auction house maybe thinking, oh, that's a safer option, but obviously it doesn't always work out that way.
But we've had some cool things. First edition base set isn't something you obviously see every day.
That's really cool. Just having that come into the shop one day.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely would not expect.
Like, I don't know what I thought. I thought we would just get loads of people walking in with like their trainer galleries that they've just pulled from Brilliant Stars or some Shield. But when people come in and say, oh, you know, I found this in the loft, like I've got this childhood collection, I always think, oh my God, what's it going to be? You're never quite sure. But sometimes it really is like, you know, like a really nice set of, you know, Neo or base or whatever.
Guy recently as well, it's not just people obviously walking in to sell to us. We've had some people walk in asking us if we can find them things.
Oh, yeah.
So recently we've sourced Shining Gyarados, First Ed, PSA 10, Neo, Rev, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune First Edition PSA 10 for, I mean, essentially who's like a client of the shop now.
Yeah.
Comes in asking for some nice stuff, and it's then on us to try and sort of find it and help facilitate a deal, I suppose.
Yeah, I've been surprised by the level of things that have come in and also the level of things people ask for. I think being where we were, I think thought kids would just be wanting a couple of booster packs, but there's people out there putting some hefty collections together that happen to walk in and either buy it from us or we kind of help them find it if we can.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. There's a lot of people that obviously there's a lot of people out there on social media, YouTube. There's a lot of people not out there too. Like sometimes the people that I'll have hit me up, Instagram, DM, they happen to watch PokeFlipz, watch one of my videos, and they share a couple spreadsheets. They talk about consigning. It's like, oh man, some of the whales out there that are not visible anywhere. It's pretty wild.
Well, I mean, the guy who bought the Gyarados, Entei, Raikou, Suicune only made an Instagram 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he was didn't have a social media presence, and he walked in asking, "Can I get these cards?" And it was like, "Who are you? Where did you come
Almost
from?"
didn't believe him when he was asking.
You think everyone is on at least Instagram.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, you assume people have some form of social media, but some people, like you say, they're invincible, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's one thing we talk about a lot is how much we take for granted about like how deep into all this we are. You kind of assume everyone else is, and by no means, like we're very deep in the engagement level if you're tuned into PokeFlipz on a Friday afternoon. So I think we covered most of anything else you guys have to say about the whole game store experience, or just kind of stay tuned and wait for Wait for Philly 2.0 version to come up.
If you're thinking about doing it, don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because it's still early days. It's just see where it takes us initially, and then
honeymoon phase still maybe. With
LGS. Definitely. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be some fun things coming. But at the moment, it's just trying to manage it all successfully and smoothly. Really.
It was one of the things we actually thought about at the start was how long that sort of honeymoon phase of opening would last.
Yeah, and it seems.
I mean, at the minute, we're still sort of surprised and happy with how it's like ticking over. But
we got our regulars that come in every week now. There's quite a lot of them as well. That also surprised me.
It's hard to know at what point you sort of find that level of
people get bored of it.
This is now just like the standard sort of thing.
I'm fairly confident it was definitely the right decision, so I'm happy we did it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Glad to hear that. So next thing we wanted to talk about, all of us, I think, are traveling to the New Jersey Collecticon. We're constantly talking about what Collecticon we just came from, which one we're going to next on this podcast. So might as well do that here. What additional logistics and what being international, like what is in your mind? What's your headspace going to a convention? Is it more offloading certain things that don't sell well there? Is it more like sourcing things that you can't find there? Just talk a little bit about your whole experience coming from across the pond to a convention.
I think it really depends on sort of where we are at the time.
I think you're always sort of more focused on videos and sort of like what you can film and what will make some good content. And
like sometimes I'll pick something up personally, maybe that's not business related either. Those are kind of like really the only opportunities that I do that. I don't really like, if something comes into the store, it's, it goes to the shop. And because I'm busy most of the time, I feel like the traveling conventions are where I actually get to pick up some of my actual personal collection items. So I kind of like that aspect to it. But like business wise, it just depends.
Yeah, we don't really tend to travel with too many things to sort of take there and offload. We've already got quite like a high sort of American and European base of people that order off you already.
Yeah.
So to travel with it isn't always.
It doesn't make sense, really.
Yeah, there was one. Was it Card Party the first time I took like vintage packs somewhere, and somehow it like exploded into like craziness of just everyone buying and ripping all these packs.
Yeah.
And then I done that for a couple of collecticons as well, and then we ran out of all of our packs.
It happened at this card party though. I think on the Saturday night I was talking to someone in the bar where the trade area was, and I kind of had my back to where you were sitting, And I think about 20 minutes later, I turned around and I couldn't even see Harry. He was the chair in the middle, surrounded. And all I could hear was screaming and packs flying everywhere. I was like, what is going on? He's always at the middle of it. But
it's always good fun.
Yeah, I think it really just depends on the situation at the time.
Yeah.
I just like traveling. It's like one of the things. I just love getting. I like seeing people as well.
I think the whole sort of con experience is always very different for the two of us, because obviously across the board, no one knows who I am or what I look like or anything like that. So I'm just walking around sort of enjoying myself. I have a good time. And then there's Chloe, who's like trying to film a video, but constantly being stopped, asking for photos, asking to sign this. And it's just all like a very different sort of experience for the two of us, I suppose.
Yeah, you just leave me most of the time.
You better watch out with all this exposure. You're that guy that was on that PokeFlipz, right?
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be
famous. your anonymity is shot now. On here. But yeah, that's interesting. So a lot of the justification for it is like travel that you enjoy doing anyways. You're able to make content around it, some amount of business. And similar to me too, like I've gone to conventions where I've not sold, and I think Nick's in the same way. I've gone to some more prearranged deals, a little bit of sourcing. I've vended some. It all can make sense because my expectation is never like I need to dollars and cents. Like I need to make X amount of money. It's always just I'm gonna get something good out of it. Networking, have a good little like business trip, vacation thing. It always is able to easily justify itself.
I think especially with sort of the logistics of us getting stuff to and from America as being so much more difficult. Like if we could vend collecticons, it would probably be one of the biggest things we try and do a few times a year as the store, to like take all of our stock there, set up a big booth, try and sell stuff, buy stuff.
But
like the logistics of it is just it's like
I want to go away and have a good time and not worry about all of that to a degree. So obviously we do a few of the conventions in the UK. They're nowhere near on the scale of the US conventions. And sometimes that's like hard enough, especially now we have the physical store. We're in a bit of a different situation where, you know, you can't just close the store because everyone wants to go to a show. It's like that you have to make the decision now of, you know, the store stays open. We need to allocate team members to the show, to the store, and how do you work that all out, basically?
It'll be a little bit easier of a lift once you have that Philly location to vend. You'll have all that inventory already stateside. You'll be tapped in. Yeah, it'll be a lot easier. So we'll look forward to that when you guys are vending all the collecticons. We do have my Japanese sealed plug in the chat. He's asking if you guys have all your Japanese sealed requirements spoken for, or if you're looking for anything.
Yeah, we don't. It's not that people don't want it, because they do, but we
get it in occasionally. We're not sort of known for having like a healthy stock of Japanese products. Yeah,
so maybe people don't necessarily come to us asking for it a lot of the time. But again, now we have the physical storefront.
It's definitely something we should build upon more.
Yeah, I think we should try, and again, it's just time and planning and organising. But yeah, no, we don't actually have like any form of reliable contact that we get our
we'll have to make that connection. Retro, hit them up. We'll I will vouch for him. He's supplied all mine. I know he's supplied Nick a few times. He's definitely a good source. He's not in Japan himself. He's actually in Washington, but he has contacts there, and he has a pretty solid connection to get good prices. Got a lot of funny questions coming in from the chat, but as we always do, I'll use this quick time to just say, like, as we always do, it's a Q&A. If you have any questions you want me to ask our guests, feel free to leave them. Something along the lines maybe of ranking the host, things like if you have things more in line with like being an LGS owner, being a content creator. But I mean, if you've got those too, we've always got those questions coming in aplenty. But yeah, so New Jersey, you guys are going to be. You mentioned the family in Philly. You guys are coming in for that. What's your plan? What do you have? Any special things you're looking to pick up while in Philly, or sorry, in New Jersey? Anything you're looking to sell that you have on hand?
quite a few things we've purchased recently, actually, that we're just collecting there in person.
Yeah.
I bought a few. Have you got an art academy currently up at auction?
I have one up on PWCC. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a spare that I had.
Oh, nice. I just bought the Chespin, Tangrowth, and Mealy, all 3 PSA 9s. So we're collecting those when we're there. We bought a Fire Red Leaf Green box. We can't ruin too much about what that's for.
Yeah, I think obviously T, who's in the chat knows, but that box is coming to.
It's being used for something.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
So that's also quite fun. We've never had one before, so that's quite like a cool thing to go and pick up. There's nothing really specific.
No, I think we haven't seen your family that live in Philly this year yet, so we wanted to. I mean, last year I think we were there 4 or 5 times, and I said we need to get the trip sorted, and then we knew the New Jersey Con was on. I think it's like a 45-minute drive from where your family's house is, so it's just really convenient. So we love going to Collecticons. It all kind of just conveniently came together. But yeah, there's no like specific goal. I think with this, it's more just go and have a good time and obviously get the bits that you've already purchased and have been waiting on as well.
Mm-hmm. And Nick, what's your plan for a Collecticon?
Mine's buying singles for the eBay lives. I did that in Kansas City. Worked out really, really well. So hopefully New Jersey is similar. It's now that because I used to go to all the Collecticons and vend. Now that I'm going and walking around, it is so much nicer. Just walking around, buying stuff, talking to everyone, not having to worry about selling stuff, sitting behind your table, being able to go out and have a good lunch. So much nicer. So I was planning on vending Charlotte this year, but now that I'm not going to Charlotte, not going to be vending at all this year, and I am perfectly fine by that.
Yeah, not going to miss it.
Takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
So many aspects of my business are in flux right now because I was really going hard with like consignments on the whole eBay vault thing. That went away. Now I'm doing the thing with PWCC, consigning cards through there, selling some of my own inventory through there. I'm signed up to vend Charlotte in like 3 weeks. And I mean, I constantly have a ton of inventory flowing through. It's just a matter of what I decide to price and take with me. But part of me is like, maybe I'll go and try to just buy more. And again, I can justify the trip in so many different ways. It's just which one I'm going to settle on. And I'm not entirely sure for one that's 3 weeks away. New Jersey for me personally, though, I'm only going to be there. It's interesting because I'm going to be there all weekend long in the recommended hotel. But we're doing like a little family trip. It's actually my son's birthday weekend. So we're doing we're doing the American Dream Mall. We're doing Sesame Place. We're doing the Corolla Factory. That hotel is like central to all of them. So it just works out. And then we're going to pick one of the 2 days and we're going to go to the convention. I'll probably give my kids a small budget to go and see what they can buy for their binders. But yeah, it's going to be just a few hours probably on Sunday. I'll be there with my whole family. So looking forward to that.
We've never really explored New Jersey.
No, I mean, we always drive. To be fair, we've done a couple of the card shops, but more like on the outskirts of Jersey, closer to where we normally stay. But I mean, we know because we've got our like local plugs where your family are based now. So those are the ones we tend to hit up and check out.
American Dream Mall's overrated. I know they have like Nickelodeon stuff. They have like mini golf. They have all kinds of things, it seems, but how it actually pans out, I guess we'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. That's just going to be one of the 4 days that we go.
Nice.
Thrifty said it's a 45-minute train ride into New York City. No need to explore Jersey. Oh man, I'm definitely not going to be having. I'm going to give my kids actual money. I'm not going to be giving them like, here's a Pokemon coin. Trade this up into a booster box by the end of the day. I'm not going to make any content around it. I know a lot of people do like involve their kids, and in some ways, like I like the idea of that. my son is actually, he's gone through so many phases. I've talked about it. Like he's been on Plants vs. Zombies. He's been on Minecraft, and he's back, and Pokemon is in full swing. One thing that I never did my entire time in Pokemon, I tried to, back when Base Jungle Fossil was all we knew of, 151, I never finished a Pokédex binder. I remember actually when I got back into this in 2014, I bought the Wigglytuff I was missing. I bought like a handful of the cards I was missing. That was the first thing I did. And so he actually, I gave him one of those fat 3-inch D-ring binders. Yeah. And all the Platinum, Ultra Pro, like the same way that I did it growing up. All these fancy binder options we have now, I'm giving him like the tried and true original method that I started with. And he is going all in on it. Like he's so excited. We have enough pages for him to do all. I didn't even know how many Pokemon there were, but there's 1,025 of them. I know now. He's probably got like a third to half of them in a binder going. And every time we open a new set, he's going to go to his binder. And yeah, it's he's super excited to do that. So I'll probably give him like $20 and hey, we probably won't bring the whole binder, but we'll probably bring like a list of target these specific Pokemon to get them for your binder. Like he's folded them in half. The way that we battle them, it's more like a game of war than a game of Pokemon proper. So like there's not going to be anything super high end in there. No PSA slabs or anything, but mostly like the bulk boxes he'll be targeting.
That's fun though. That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see Pokemon Go too. I mean, I played it for the first few years, pretty heavy, and then I played it a little bit more during the pandemic. Brought me back, and my son got me back into that. We've been hit or miss the past few weeks, a little over a month now, maybe, but we'll see. We'll see if he really dives in, and I'll follow him right in there if he's diving deep into it for sure. Dan's wife handing him $10K to spend, and Dan handing his kid only $20 instead. One ongoing thing that I have on my channel, and I know there's quite a few people in the Pokemon space. I mean, both of you are into it, but I have like a sugar mama. My wife is a teacher, and her job truly, like we live quite cheaply. Her job pretty much like pays the bills, and then I just everything I do is just for fun, and it's extra, and it's all of our savings in that. But yeah. My wife will be giving me a big allowance, and I'll only pass through a little bit.
I love it.
I wish my wife gave me a big allowance.
Yeah, sorry, I can't afford it.
Yeah. Oh man. Aside from New Jersey, I know that you had mentioned it too. There's not much for like a UK scene. Is that anything you guys ever thought about like trying to solve? Have you ever thought about like PokiChloe Con or anything of that sort?
So yeah, there's a few sort of, well, there's one or two bigger shows in the UK. They tend to happen about 4 times a year. There's one I think that happens once a year, and then there's a lot of small pop-up shows that are run out of like not even convention centres, like smaller sort of function room style places. We did think about it. We have thought about it. But that's as far as it ever got, was just thinking about it.
It was more of like a time input issue. Obviously, at the time, we've known, we opened the store in April, and we owned it for 7 months before it opened. So it's pretty much nearly been a year now, where we knew the store was going to be a thing. So it made it difficult to then also try and commit time to sort of starting a show and doing all that sort of stuff. So it was more of we think we could do a really good job of it, but we just don't have the time to put into it properly. And we always thought if we weren't going to put the proper amount of time into it, we didn't want to do it because we wanted it to be as good as it can be, basically.
Yeah, I didn't want to do like a 50% effort and it not be a great show and everyone be talking about. If we're going to do it properly or not at all. And we just don't have the time or physical resource to be able to put ourselves and commit to it. So yeah, we'll just keep traveling to CollectCon.
Yeah. At some point, you've got to just choose what you're going to go for. I like diversifying. I like being in a lot of things, but there absolutely is a limit to that. And if someone is doing it at a high level already, like that's kind of the spot that I'm in. I love Collecticon, and I'm just gonna. I'm going to signal boost what they've got going on, and I'm going to go attend and have a good time at those. And you guys did have, it's been a while now. It's been almost a couple of years, but you guys did have Worlds in your neck of the woods. If you want to talk about that at all. I know you guys did big things there.
Yeah, so again, that wasn't exactly planned, but it all kind of happened. Yeah, obviously it was our first Worlds we ever went to, and the plan was to just go and have a really good weekend, just have fun, go to the Pokemon Center, meet all the people we'd never met before in person, and then that last night, one thing led to another, and yeah, one of the biggest purchases we've ever made came out of that. It was so. Because everyone says, "Oh, did you go into it knowing you were going to do this?" And there was no discussion that we wanted to buy the number one at all.
It was a purely for fun event.
It was literally the last night the Worlds was over. We were literally waiting to meet some other friends to go to a different hotel to hang out with them.
We weren't even supposed to be where we went.
No, we weren't supposed to be where we went. We just happened to walk past. And we said, "Oh, should we just grab a drink while we wait?" Because we had like 30 minutes or so. And Dean and Harry both play the TCG. I can play very loosely and very poorly. And there happened to be some people just sitting playing in the lobby, so conversation.
I don't think they're playing. I think we saw there were decks on the table.
Oh yeah, and
so then we just started speaking to them, saying, "Oh, do you play?" And one of them, we see your decks out on the table, and just tried to basically make general conversation while we were just having a drink.
And one of them just casually said, "Yeah, my
friend won."
Yeah, and we were like,
"What do you mean he won?"
He was like, Worlds. And we were like,
he won Worlds.
Really?
We were like, "Oh, who was it?"
Interesting.
Andre, he won the Masters. We were like, "What?"
Let's speak more on that.
Yeah. And that's kind of where it all started. And then it was a good about 2 or 3 months of back and forth.
Yeah.
Obviously, the winner, the guy who won that we bought it from, he wasn't based in the UK. He was in Europe. So there was a lot of conversation back and forth, and it took a while to get there. But
yeah. We offered him sort of an amount of money for it, and he sort of seemed quite keen on it. And then I think it was a few days later or a week later or something, he said, "Oh, I've had another person offer me some money," and basically put us in like a Instagram bidding war.
Yeah.
Which we later found out it was David Person. So we at that point, I think we were still only at like what we ended up paying for it. I think at the point of knowing it was David that was bidding on it, we were probably only at like 70% of the full value we ended up paying. But at that point, we thought we're probably not going to get this because obviously he'll buy it. He can go a lot higher than we can. But I think we just got lucky that he ended up finding another copy and just backing out.
It just ended up working.
Yeah, we ended
in
up
a weird way,
finding it completely unplanned, thinking we'd lost it, and then got lucky and
we hadn't lost it. We got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because like the last two obviously we went to Japan last year, and we're going to Hawaii this year. And like Pete, like when I've been live streaming, like talking about traveling to us, they're like, "Oh, so like what like trainers are you buying this year?" I'm like, "None." It wasn't the plan in the first place. I don't want to buy anymore. I can't afford it anymore. But yeah,
there's more. Even when we found out Andre won, and we got like the contact details, and we were like, the whole time it was like a really cool thing to own, but we still never really took it seriously until we started.
Until it started getting serious,
and it was still quite like a meaningful purchase, which obviously why we still got it as well. It was more of the first time it came out of America. It came to London. Obviously, we're from London. It was our first ever event we went to. That was a world championship.
Kind of just felt like if we were going to do it, we were going to.
That was the one that we wanted, and then obviously to meet them and then find out that he had the number one, and it wasn't like the 2, 3, or 4, and it just sort of it all came together incredibly luckily for us. But
yeah, definitely a very non-planned, crazy situation, but it ended up working out, well for us, and I'm glad we did it. It was a lot, but no, it was worth it.
Yeah, that's quite a piece. So I was going to ask you. You said you did go to Japan. You're going to Hawaii. If you had to like rank, and obviously personal schedules might conflict years down the line, you can never know fully, but like what events do you prioritize? Is Worlds like the number one in your book, and then Collecticons and whatever else follows? Or
so we went to London Worlds because it was in London, and then when at the end they announced the next year's location, when we found out it was Japan, we'd never been to Japan before. And we said that was just something we didn't want to miss. Like that was want to go to Japan and wanted to go to Worlds. And then when they said it was going to be in Hawaii this year, we actually went to Hawaii about 10 years ago. and we haven't been back since. And we kind of just said, right, we're gonna do this. But in terms of like events for, I don't know, like if we're looking to, you know, buy and sell and all that sort of stuff, Worlds wouldn't be one that I would prioritize. It's more been the location of where it's being held, and then it's a bonus that World, you know, it is always such a good weekend and it's super fun. And but if we're talking about, I mean, we probably prioritize Collecticons over if we actually had to rank it. Well, me anyway. If we actually had to rank it.
Good fun for us.
Yeah.
I think the locations for Worlds definitely sort of helped.
They drew us in. I don't know if
San Fran will be on the cards for us.
Yeah.
Was that 2026?
Yeah.
I think supposedly.
Yeah, I think that one we kind of got spoiled like way further out than normal from some insider, like a hotel booking or something.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on where it is next year, I don't know if it's something that we'll try and go to next year again. Again, now that we have the store, we have to think carefully about doing all these trips and traveling and being away. Obviously, we have people that work for us, but you know, we can't just be gone all the time, like you were saying. Like it relies on us quite heavily to function. So we also have to weigh that up and work out if it's sensible for us to be leaving to do these things. Obviously, we booked Hawaii literally a year in advance. We were in Japan and we booked the hotel that night that they announced it, because we were like, we definitely want to do this. But yeah, I'd probably say I think we would always prioritize some of the other like conventions such as Collecticon and even some
Card
of
Party probably.
I mean, Card Party next year is going to be quite different. It's going to be split on the East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah.
The West Coast is obviously always harder for us because it's a much longer journey.
Much further.
It's quite a bit. Like, you know, traveling to New York is about 7 hours for us. Traveling to the West Coast can be around 12 hours. So it's like it's a chunk more.
I think the only thing with Worlds as well is obviously the locations for us were like really appealing, being like Japan and Hawaii, but the cost that comes with those sorts of places as well means that you don't actually end up seeing a lot of people that you know there, because so many people can't actually afford to make those sorts of trips. Obviously, we're lucky that we can sort of make some content out of it and try and do some like buying or selling to try and sort of
business expense
and all that sort of stuff. So we're in a lucky position in that sense, but it does mean that the actual events themselves tend not to be as sort of like community based and like seeing friends in the hobby space and that sort of thing. Whereas the Collecticons are always, I mean, we travel to basically the whole of America doing the Collecticon. So at some point we see sort of everyone who can get to places like much more affordable. And
we've met a lot of good friends and people that we obviously, you know, do business with since like starting this online, and being able to see them and hang out in person. That's part of the events I really like. I like walking around and seeing everything, but I also like the social part of it. It's nice because not a lot of people come to the UK. Although to be fair, we have actually had quite a few visitors at the store, which I'm surprised about. But I think Worlds is more of a just, for me, probably a bit location based. And obviously I'm never going to be playing. Maybe one day you'll become serious about your TCG competitive play career. I
do enjoy playing. I just play very badly at the minute.
But I'd probably say Worlds would be lower ranking in a priority list for me over things like the Collecticons and other conventions like that.
Yeah, and we had the Green Shiz actually asked Nick and myself why we didn't do Card Party. To me, I kind of, as much notice as we get, which with Card Party, we have like over a year notice now, and some of the requirements for getting vendor tables and all that. But I look at, to me, it's like family first, and Card Party fell this year on Father's Day. So like, I want to see my dad. I want to be with my son. I think my kids are just at an age where travel isn't easy, isn't really ideal. My kids are 5 and 3 still. So Card Party was like an easy pass for me. I actually opted to do Orlando Collecticon just a little bit prior to that. But yeah, you kind of mentioned how you enjoy traveling. I myself do too. So I just look at my kind of like personal calendar. If someone very close to me is getting married and I have a wedding that I've got to attend, like wherever things fall, like I'm not going to put any event like above family and my personal things. And then, where the rest fall is just how it goes. And Card Party this year was Father's Day. Last year it was California, and kind of the same way that I see like a Worlds in Hawaii, a Worlds in Japan.
Yeah.
I would go. I would have a blast. I'm confident I would have a blast. The additional time of travel and the additional cost of travel, it's like I would rather just have an extra $5,000 in my pocket and do an event in Orlando or in Charlotte that I would have just as much fun. Long enough timeline. I'm sure eventually I will get to another Worlds. I have been to 2 in the past. I'm sure I will get to my first card party someday, but I'm in no rush. Like, I'm here for the long haul. I've been doing this full time for 3 years now, and at least for the next 3, I think I'm quite confident I'll be doing it maybe for the next 30. Who knows? But no major rush for me. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I was actually planning on going to card party up until fairly last minute. It was going to be too much because I had a big collection that I ended up buying. The guy didn't want to ship it, so I ended up flying down to Dallas to buy that from him. And then from Dallas, I flew up to Kansas City and went to the Kansas City CollectCon, which was a lot of fun. And then card party was that very next weekend, and it would have just been way too much travel for me.
Yeah, they added a few extra CollectCons for this year, didn't they?
Yeah, I feel like
this bunched everything together
There's
quite a
12
lot.
this year.
Yeah.
These next couple of weeks or next couple of months are brutal because it was Kansas City, 2 weeks later it was Dallas, 2 weeks later New Jersey, 2 weeks later Charlotte. It's a brutal schedule for these next couple ones.
Yeah.
And I think we got a little bit of a teaser too. I think Nick, you might watch Pokemon Wonder as well, but one of our friends, Justin, he had Gary, King Pokemon on. I think Gary mentioned next year they're intending to do more. Like, I don't think he said a number, but I think he just said more than they did this year, which is wild to think about. Like, I always say, like, in a selfish way, it's almost like, man, I wish they would only do the 3 or 4 that I could travel to so that they would be bigger and more of my friends would be there. But what a great problem that we have is there's too many amazing events to go to. Like, obviously, if there's 20 of them instead of 4 of them, you might not see everyone. Like, the less there are, the more likely you're going to run across the people that you want to run across. But what a great problem to have is that we have like too many good events that you can't fit them all in your schedule. Like, to me,
bring one to the UK.
Yes.
And maybe the Collecticon brothers do have their sights set on international expansion. I have no idea. Maybe someday we'll get them on here and be able to have that chat. But it'll be interesting. I didn't even consider that. But yeah, maybe they'll start dabbling. Maybe their expansion is outward. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the UK is always a tough one for people to come to since Brexit. I think it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff to deal with. I think like a France or a Germany might be more of an appealing sort of country for someone looking to expand. But I actually don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I always feel like the UK is a tough one, but maybe they will. Or
we'll welcome it with open arms.
Yeah, we will if they want to come here and do it. I'll be down.
And I think those 2 countries you mentioned in particular, France and Germany, I don't know if you intended this, but Legala, aren't those? Yeah. Wasn't Paris where one was and then Germany's next year?
They've done Paris and Germany.
Yeah, so
they've already done them both.
Last 2 years was Paris, and we did Paris last year, and then this year they added Germany. And then they also did Paris again. We didn't go to Paris this year, but we did Germany this year. The German one this year was a lot smaller than the Paris one, but I think it's because it was the first one and they're obviously, you know, getting sort of settled there. But the Paris one is, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the Oscars of like.
It's like a black tie event, right?
Yeah. So like in the evening, there's a dinner at like the most incredible hotels and everyone dresses up, and I've never been to anything quite like it, but last year Paris was incredible. Really good, really good.
Again,
it's very different vibe.
It's such a cool thing that we have people like building around this space, building around this foundation that is the mutually shared love for Pokemon, and then turning it into like I saw some of the pictures. I don't know if I'll ever make a Legala. That might be above my like fanciness level. I don't know, but it's great that like we have just everything out there. We've got Pat Flynn doing his thing with Card Party. We've got the brothers doing their Collecticon, and then I can't name them all, but there are so many other. I know Nick, local to him, he goes to some that Jake has been to as well, and there's so many different conventions of every size. It's great.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think my gym shorts and t-shirt. That is one funny thing though. Like there are times where we have maybe like our not exactly the same thing, but like towards La Gala a little bit. We'll go in our gym shorts and t-shirts, and we'll go to some fancy steakhouse, $100 a head.
Yeah.
We'll take over the back room of a fancy steakhouse in some of these Collecticon cities from time to time. I don't know what grime is. Are you guys fans of grime? If so, favorite artist?
It's a type of music.
Okay.
I would say I'm a big grime fan. Don't think you are either.
No, I can appreciate it.
Yeah, it's like it's a fairly popular genre of music in the UK. I think is it just quite UK heavy?
I think it's quite UK heavy.
Yeah, it's quite UK heavy.
What are your music tastes?
Oh, you like a little bit of everything.
My last 3 concerts I've been to have been 30 Seconds to Mars, Eminem, and Rod Stewart.
That's a lie. We went to Blink 182.
Oh, Blink 182.
That was my choice. That wasn't his choice. He's blocked it out.
It's a very wide range of people. I've seen Bruce Springsteen in concert at Hyde Park.
You got like the classics and the newbies. Yeah, I'm
all over the place.
Like Blink 182, like rock. That's my kind of. I took him to his first Blink 182 concert last year, but I think you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it's good.
You bought a T-shirt, you got some merch to prove you went.
And that was Retro's question, and he did send you a DM.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll pick that up. Perfect.
So be sure to check your requests on that page. He said not even Wiley or Skepta. So
yeah, I like Skepta.
Yeah.
Wiley is like a bit old school.
Yeah.
Wiley's from like when I used to go out clubbing when I was like 17. Back in the day.
Oh,
I know.
Here's another question regarding like the international travel, because the Collecticon, you guys travel some affiliation with them, right? If I remember correctly, you guys usually have the Hollow All Access badges.
So yeah, it started actually through Whatnot. I think Orlando Collecticon last year, so the start of last year, February, was the first one we went to, and Whatnot were able to get us passes, and we did like, I don't think we streamed there, but I think there was some of the Whatnot team there, and we like hung out with them for a bit, and were with them, and then there was one in Dallas coming up. We were going to be on our honeymoon, and then we conveniently went to Collecticon at the end of our honeymoon last year. And I just messaged Collecticon saying, "Oh, hi guys, we visited you a couple of months ago. Would it be okay to come again?" And they said, "Yeah, like you're welcome anytime." So the guys are great. They always give us the badges, all access.
There's not any form of like actual paid partnership.
Yeah, no, there's
we
nothing.
Just enjoy going,
and again, I film videos just because I like it. That content does well for me.
Yeah.
And I think like any sort of like event or thing like that, they like if people are putting content out about their events, I think it works both ways. But they're always very accommodating and welcoming, and look after us very well.
Nice. Yeah, and he had mentioned too, any thoughts on international expansion, which we kind of touched on, both from your perspective and then maybe Collecticon. So we did cover that. I think this is a soccer-related thing. Is it coming home? Are you guys thinking of football?
Yeah, so England are in the final of the Euros. We watched the semi-finals on Wednesday, and I honestly surprised we're in the finals. Yeah. But I don't know if we got much of a chance of playing Spain. So yeah.
50-50.
I'm streaming at 5 p.m. on Sunday, and then by the time I finish, the game will start, and then we can all sit around and watch the game and either cry or laugh at the end of it. I don't know which one.
Well, good luck in that. It's I occasionally will watch like the World Cups, and I'll watch the Olympic soccer, but I don't really get into like the non highest
it's just
level.
like the World Cup of Europe.
Yeah, so it's all the European countries. Yeah.
And I think the Copa America, I believe it is, right? It's currently ongoing. Yeah. I think every continent is kind of doing their own thing right now, right?
Same thing,
Yeah. But I tune in for the the every 4 years things. Soccer for me, every 4 years. Well, every 2 years actually, because every 4 years you get the World Cup, and then every 2 years in between, I believe you get soccer. So, or Olympics. Sorry.
Olympics.
But yeah, interesting. Here's actually one, and I guess I'll shout out because I did catch. I've been following the Poke SNP podcast, and I know that you were on there recently, Chloe.
Yeah.
With PokeSun, and then he goes by J Peng Collection on Instagram.
And
he was there
wife,
with
CJ,
his wife.
well.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I know you guys talked a lot on this topic here, but if you want to bring any commentary towards that, do you think being a woman help or hurt you in the Pokemon hobby, or no effect at all?
I like to think it has no effect, but I think it does. Like I think I was saying with CJ, because CJ owns a shop in Canada. She's owned it for quite a while now. And I think she was saying once, someone came in and was sort of asking questions, what they wanted to know. I don't know what it was about specifically, but they, her husband happened to be in there, Jesse, and they were like really directing the questions at him. And he actually said to them, this isn't my shop. You're going to have to ask my wife. She's the expert here. And that kind of they didn't want to, the man that's in there, they assume that's the Pokemon person. I don't really think, I feel like I've been lucky. I don't feel like I've ever had anything that's been so negative, and it's been because I'm female in the space. There's obviously always going to be people that have their comments and, their thoughts about it. But I don't think I've ever experienced anything that I've thought, oh my goodness, it's sort of not my confidence or whatever. And I feel like in the shop, everyone, the customers treat all of us the same, like whether it's you behind the till or me. We have another female member of staff as well. She's obviously really into Pokemon. She works for us. So, I feel like I've been lucky with it. I haven't really experienced anything too negative, but I know it's not the same for everyone, and people, do get those comments. And the internet is hard. I think no matter what you do, whether who you are, you're going to get the crazy people. You just have to learn how to block that out and deal with it best you can.
And I assume one thing Nick and I talk about a lot, primarily selling on eBay, I think 99+% of interactions are great. And I think hopefully in that front, they're the vast minority. Sometimes that vocal minority can really lead to bad places. But I did link for anyone who wants to follow up. You guys had a whole podcast episode primarily focused around that with 3 women in the hobby giving their experiences, and that was a good listen. I listened to a lot of the podcasts, and they got a good one going over there at the Poke SNP podcast.
I had not even heard of that one. I subbed, so you're dropping the link. Worked.
There we go. There we go. We always like to shout out all the other content, just like we were talking with the conventions. Kind of a good problem to have. I can't keep up with all the content that I want to. I listen to a lot of it on 2x, kind of in the background to whatever I'm doing. But still, even that, I can't consume all the content I want to. It's a great problem to have, to be able to choose which ones you want to go for, because there's just way too much.
Yeah, we actually haven't planned our next one either. It'll be what? New Jersey, and then
Chicago.
We want to do Chicago.
Yeah, I've never been.
Actually,
You've never been to Chicago.
I've never been to Chicago.
Yeah, I've never been to Chicago. My dad has been there years ago for business, and growing up, he always used to say if you could ever go anywhere, he loves Chicago. So when I saw there was a con there, I was like, I'd really like to go. Obviously, US is fairly. We'll probably stop off in Philly on the way, as we always do. So I think Chicago will be the next con after New Jersey, and then.
Is that November?
No, it's October.
Yeah, mid-October, I believe.
It might be our last one of the year. Last year, we ended up going out to Houston in November. It was my birthday weekend, so it was kind of let's go away for my birthday because I like to go away. And then there was a CollectorCon. But yeah, this year I don't know if we'll do anything towards the far end of the year. And obviously we've got Hawaii in August as well. But yeah, I think that's all we've kind of got planned with our.
Yeah, I think Chicago is going to be a good one. It's the first Chicago CollectorCon, so first new to the area for them, and obviously it's as big of a place as you get as far as the location is. Very accessible. I think it's really close to the airport.
Oh, okay.
I think a lot of people have a pretty easy time getting to. I don't know if there's any airport in the country that doesn't connect into O'Hare through something so. Nick and I will both. Nick, you're not. Are you vending that or no?
No. I'll be walking around though. I'm definitely going to be going to that one. I'll be going out early, hanging out with Walrus, doing some eBay lives and having fun, and then doing the convention over the weekend. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll be. I have a. I don't know if they sold sections for that one yet, but I'm going to buy a section. I probably will vend, but who knows? Like maybe I'll end up just selling that off. The way these conventions go, like a bunch of us kind of pool together. We buy a few sections, and then last minute, there's always like the procrastinators that are scrambling trying to find a table.
Yeah.
So worst case, like if I decide last minute I don't want to vend, it's like someone will go to 2 tables, or someone will just take the table, and I can just source, or I can just hang out, whatever it ends up being. But yeah, Chicago, I do plan to do.
Me. I tell you about how much fun it is walking around, and now you don't want to vend.
I think my first one too, like I didn't even have a table going way back, Orlando 2 years ago. The people next to you, they sold so well on Saturday, they didn't even set up on Sunday. So like I was able to vend without even having bought a table, because there was just an empty table right next to Nick. So it's like Dallas I just did not that long ago, and I popped some, like I ended up selling thousands of dollars worth of cards because I just brought a few in my backpack. I threw them in some open spaces, paid people a nice little commission that allowed me to use their table space. And there's a lot of ways to make a convention make sense. So we'll see. We'll see which ones I end up actually vending. But Chicago, I'll be there one way or the other. And I'll be at Chicago like twice within a couple weeks, because there's actually a wedding going on that I'll be going to too. I think 2 weeks later, I believe.
Oh wow!
But yeah,
might as well just stay, make it an extended vacation.
Yeah, make it a full 2-week trip. If it was a week, that would maybe be on the table, but 2 weeks would be too much. I know some people kind of eyed that with Collecticon Orlando and Card Party, because initially when it was first announced, I think some people thought it might have been just 1 week, do Disney in between, Universal in between, but 2 weeks, and then the one being on Father's Day, like that one was too tough. But yeah. You mentioned Houston. Houston was the one, I think, where we ended up hanging out some, and I remember at that point that was a couple weeks, maybe a couple months before you did your skydiving, if I remember correctly, or was that last year?
It was Dallas last year.
That was Dallas last year. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm so terrible mixing all the conventions in my head. I can never remember which one's which.
Yeah, I did my skydive in the July, I think, and we'd been to Dallas in the May, because that's when we went to Florida for our honeymoon, and then we flew to Dallas to do Collecticon. Yeah, and then did the skydive, which I'm so glad I did. I couldn't quite convince Harry to do it with me at the time, but you said you would do it.
I'll do it,
Yeah, so I think we're going to do it again. I don't know if I'll film it this time, but it was, oh my goodness, what an experience.
Yeah, I went skydiving. It was the week between college graduation and then our actual ceremony for graduation. So we maybe it was a week or two we had where classes ended, finals ended, and we were just hanging out at our apartment. Like we planned that ahead of time, but my roommate and I were like, let's go skydiving, and it was a blast. To be honest, in some ways, it like ruined roller coasters for me. It's like once you get that next level, like adrenaline junkie, once you get that next high, it's like the other stuff doesn't do it the same way anymore. And I have 2 kids now, and I've told my wife many times, I think my daughter will be the one before my son, but things could change. But I think I'll be skydiving with my daughter in like 15 or 20 years when she graduates college. Maybe I feel like she would go for it. I feel like I definitely need to do it again sometime in my life. So I really want to make that happen again.
I highly recommend it to anyone. Honestly,
never gonna jump out of a plane, Nick?
Nope. Oh.
He's good.
I gotta find a way to make a bet with him where. I mean, I want to skydive either way. So whether I win or lose, it's just like if he loses, he has to come skydiving with me, and I guess that'll be a good punishment for me, though. I shouldn't say how much I want to do it.
Do you have a bungee jump, or have you only skydived?
I did. So some people might be familiar. A lot of the Six Flags around me, they have what they call the slingshot. It's like reverse bungee jumping. You're in like a ball. And they use a bunch of cables. They launch you into you go like 300 feet in the air in X amount of seconds, whatever it is. It's pretty crazy as far as like the G-force goes. But I've never like jumped off proper bungee jumping where you jump off and then I would be 100% open to doing that someday. I've just never really been like at right place, right time for that to come up, I guess. And I've never gone out of my way to make it happen. Whereas with the skydiving, I did do that. How about you guys? Have you done bungee jumping or?
I have no desire to bungee jumping. The thought of that makes me nervous. Whereas skydiving, I'm like, yeah.
Skydiving?
I don't know what it is about bungee jumping. Not for me. I'll skydive again happily, but not bungee jump. No, which I don't think that makes sense, but
definitely doesn't make sense.
And I think we talked about this a little bit at Collecticon. But like when I went skydiving, I had no intent to become a skydiving instructor, but I went down that path. I paid extra to like do additional courses. I went untethered to anyone else. Like I jumped out of the plane and they held on to me, but I'm like, I want to be the one steering the ship on the way down. Like I want to have control, because to me, obviously when you fly on a plane, like you're putting all the control elsewhere. But with something like that, part of it is the experience wise. I don't want to be strapped to some random dude. Like, I don't know. Another part of that was just like, hey, if something's going to happen to me, I'd rather be at the hands of me, not someone else's mistake or like, But bungee jumping, I would absolutely do though. I'm not like completely opposed to that or anything, but I definitely want to skydive again, where I'm just free, where it's just me. And I think there's another thing called I forget what it's called, but it's like instead of skydiving, you just jump out and your chute automatically deploys like right off the bat. I think I forget what it's called, but I think they do that where you jump out and then your thing just automatically pulls, or I don't know how that works though, because you need to be going a certain speed.
Yeah.
But anyways, like parasailing, bungee jumping, like all those kinds of things, I definitely want to revisit more. Not base jumping. I'm thinking of something else, which maybe not. It's not even a thing. I don't know. But anyways,
stuff up over here now.
I remember way back the field days when you were growing up. I don't know if those are a thing in the UK, but like local little like carnival type things with the rides. And I always wanted to be on the tallest, fastest ones. I was standing on my tippy toes to qualify for the ones that I wasn't quite tall enough for. I've always been a bit of a thrill seeker with that kind of stuff. And in my old age, the spinning gets to me a little bit. I can't quite do the spinning as much because I'm getting too old for that. But by no means too old for like jumping out of a plane, and I want to do some more of that. Oh man, Walrus wants to go skydiving. We've always got a lively chat in here, and usually it's our mods themselves who are leading the charge on all the funny commentary. But yeah, what else is going on in the Pokemon space? Any other topics you guys want to talk about?
I'm trying to think what's going on with us at the minute. I mean,
Nothing crazy.
No, I mean we've been swallowed up by the store really. Like so much so that even like UK events, we're really only vending one in the UK this year. We've had a lot of people ask us to visit their shows, but it's just so hard. We now have to make the decision: do we keep the store open? Do we shut the store to go to a show? How do we manage the staff? Like it's different. We can't just pack up and rock up anywhere. So
it's a lot harder now.
Yeah, no, it's just there's just no days off at the moment. It's just store screams. Oh, Frank's piping up in the background as well. He agrees. He's passionate about that.
He was saying, "Don't leave me."
Yeah, I know. He's running there to see our friend. But yeah, no, it's. I don't think there's anything happening crazy in like the UK space either.
Nothing much
really
happens in the UK.
No, and I know I feel like everyone says that a lot, but we're so much smaller, like in comparison to the US. Like specifically, we're never going to be on that scale with the shows, and I feel like everything that happens there, even like product itself, like it's Frankie. Right, he's got his toy. He's trying to get involved. Hello.
Does he actually ever make any of the international travel, or is he always back at home?
I wish. Yeah, I don't. We're really lucky. Harry's parents own one of his brothers, And then your brother owns another one of his brothers, and then another one of your family has another one of his brothers. So he always goes and stays with my in-laws, Harry's parents, and I think he has his own little, he has his own little holidays with all his brothers, like the 4 chocolate labs all together. And I would love to take him. I would love to take him with me, but I think we'd need a private jet for that, just to be getting him on and off the plane all the time. I can't afford that, so he's going to have to stay at home, bless him.
Yeah, I don't know what the logistics of that would be, international flights with it. Like, I'm sure there's a way. Maybe the answer is like private flights only. I have no idea.
So we've looked into it with the purpose of, eventually taking him with us, if we did, move to the US. There's actually a couple of there's a couple of companies that charter private planes, and basically there'll be 8 seats available, and the 8 people split the cost between them. So it doesn't actually work out crazy expensive, rather than trying to charter a plane yourself. So,
but it's just for dogs.
But it's just for dogs.
So it's 8 people and 8 dogs.
Yeah.
To get the flight.
Wow, that's
like my dream flight. Honestly.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Because the other option, and I don't like it, is you can put them in the hold of like a commercial airliner where all the suitcases go, but obviously there's no one down there to check on them, and that would be my worst nightmare. I would never even consider it. So we've definitely looked at the options. I know there's a couple of options available that we can travel with him. So watch this space. Maybe one day you'll see a picture of him on his little aeroplane seat.
Gotta have Frank at the forefront of plans.
I know.
And I did see this comment. You actually looked into opening packs while skydiving, but they wouldn't allow for that, right?
No, they wouldn't allow anything where you've got any kind of
hold
object.
anything in your hand. I think it's more,
which makes sense, right?
Yeah, and especially who you're jumping with, which I understand. You don't want any injuries while falling out of a plane.
Yeah, imagine this challenge. Like, can I rip this whole unbroken bonds booster box in the 60 seconds of free fall? And then 2 seconds into the free fall, you drop it, and it takes out a Tesla down on the ground. It's just like I mean. And obviously, but even a booster pack, the littering, all the liability that they get into. You lose a card and it goes up and it whacks someone in the face. 100 and whatever miles an hour that you're going.
It's not good.
No, and it is crazy. Like the whole thing. Part of me wanting to do it unattached too was I think it was a little over 60 seconds of free fall, and then you pull your chute and it was 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes of guided under the chute fall. So that, I mean, both parts were extremely fun, but in a lot of ways the first part was just over and done really quick. And then the other part was all that adrenaline still pumping, winding down, and man, I'm thousands of feet in the air, flying around, zooming around. And it was incredible. I really enjoyed my jump. Yeah, that was crazy. So we got a couple more questions coming in. So Mr. Walrus wants to know, does Harry enjoy being in front of the camera or just part of the business?
I don't mind. I try and stay out of the camera, just because obviously most of the time it's either Chloe or Dean filming, and obviously it's their channel, so it's people aren't there to see me pipe up for a minute or two and share my thoughts.
But sometimes because you're very knowledgeable as well, so sometimes it's good to have you, especially I feel as we film more in the shop, you'll probably be on camera a lot more, because if you're at the till doing deal, obviously sometimes it gets busy, so there's several of us there serving customers. Someone might be doing a deal, someone might be actually running the till, and then looking at cards and stuff. So I feel you'll probably be more of a feature maybe than you want to be.
I don't run out the way of the camera, or
no, you're not scared of the camera.
People aren't there for me, so
you're just floating around in the background.
Yeah, there's a lot of business to be done, so
there is.
Sitting in a corner doing that somewhere.
You're a busy guy.
We had a question coming from Retro. Do Chloe and Harry see TCGs growing in the UK in popularity, feelings overall, and the future and longevity of the hobby?
Yeah, so I feel in the even though we're a lot smaller in the UK, and for example, our conventions aren't as big, and there's not maybe as much here. I feel there's a very strong, it's just from seeing the amount of people that have come into the shop. People have come in and said that they couldn't believe there was a shop in Chorleywood, which is where we are. It's the last thing they ever thought would pop up, because they've never been able to walk in anywhere and buy Pokemon cards off the shelf. They've always had to do it online, and they like the thought of being able to walk in, see the singles that we've got, and pick up packs and open them there in person. So there's a very strong community and following here. There's just not as much on offer for the community as such.
I think some things will always struggle a bit more being like a small island with not as many people.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Star Wars Unlimited that's just come out. I think we've sold maybe 1 box in the store. But we've sold like in the double digits to America.
Yeah.
It's like taken off a lot in America, and then it feels as though not so much here. So certain things that sort of do better there and a bit worse here, it feels, and then there's things where like Pokemon, it just feels really strong here and really strong in America. So,
and it's with all the age groups, like talking about like the future and longevity of the hobby. Like we have the people who are our age coming in because, you know, they collected when they were younger, and either they've still been doing it the whole time, or that, you know, a couple of people this week have come in and said they've just got back into it with their kids, and like their kids are now the ones kind of getting them into it again because their kids want to open the packs, the kids are watching.
One of the interesting things with the store for me is seeing like a dad and a kid come in, and the kid's like picking something off the shelf in one part of the store, and then the dad's in a different part of the store looking at something else, grabbing something else off a different shelf.
2 generations, it's still as strong as ever.
It's amazing how much it's like carried over to the younger generation, and then
and the kids are so knowledgeable as well. There was a kid in the other day, he must have been about 5 years old, and he was trying to explain to his dad about the Charizard premium box and how good the promo was and how good the box was, and his dad was like, yeah, you can have it. I was like, that's the easiest convincing I've ever seen in my life. But it's the kids know what they're talking about as much as the adults, which is fun to see.
Yeah, my son has actually got me watching. I haven't watched any of the animes in quite a while, but we're watching the new one, Horizons, I believe it is. We're watching the new one with all the Scarlet and Violet characters and stuff, and they're doing my boy Quaxley dirty. I mean, neither of the two main protagonists have the Quaxley. He's not getting the feature I think he deserves, but no, it's interesting. He's getting me back into Pokemon Go, and I'm helping him fill out the binder. And we actually had a TCG related question. I still like, I know roughly how the game works. I've never played a proper game of TCG though, but at some point, like if my son really gets into it, I could see myself getting more into it. We had the Shiny Outpost wondering, do you guys play the TCG much? And if so, like, what are your favorite decks?
So I don't. Dean actually taught me like build and battle. Like I played him a couple of times very loosely, but I mean, you did play quite a bit, and then we got busy. So
I've done side events. Was it an EUIC?
EUIC, yeah.
I used the Godwar deck last time, but I think it's actually still playable at the minute. But this was like sort of 10, 12 months ago. I do like it. I'm more of I like being the annoying player, where you start the game, they start to see your cards, and they're like, oh, I'm playing one of these guys. Like that's what I get enjoyment from, like a stall deck or just something that's like really annoying.
The general like anti-meta decks, so like disruption decks, yeah,
but not on like a dedicated level. I just sort of do it for fun. So when Dean was first sort of teaching me as well, Dean knew how to play for quite a while, sort of before we did. I was sort of trying to like put my own deck together type thing. I'm more of like a creator than a just sort of pick up what's working and use it. I try and like find my own things to do, but
you play on the PC a lot. You and
play
Dean
on the PC a lot,
play against each other quite a bit
rather than like in person.
Yeah, but again, just it's time at the moment. Like we're so busy. So like if we like when we go to New Jersey next week, like there'll be evenings when we're at his family's house, and I'm like on the sofa having a glass of wine with your family, and him and Dean are sitting at the kitchen counter just playing TCG on the laptop silently. But yeah, that's kind of like a bit. That's really the only chance you guys kind of get to sort of sit down and play.
We've done a couple of pre-release events at different stores before in the UK.
Yeah.
But we've never like specifically gone out to
Dean did play EUIC last year though. Yeah, and it's intense. Like it's long days. Like, and I think by the end of it he was drained, but he enjoyed it. But you know, you have to have such a time commitment if you are actually gonna, you know, play competitively like that. So it's, you know, takes over people's lives.
Yeah. Think about the prospects though of winning your own #1 card. Then you could sell off this card.
Exactly.
That would be a lot deeper. I mean, you have a lot of connections, a lot of ways that you connect to that one card. But imagine if you won that on your own.
Yeah,
that would
be together.
Yeah, that'd be next level. Let's see. We talked a little bit earlier about like Pokemon is the vast majority of what you sell. Like if you had to put a certain, like what's second, what's third?
Yu-Gi-Oh has been really popular. That we've had, like,
it's been asked for a lot.
Yeah, and we had one guy come in, and I mean, he pretty much cleaned our shelves out of all the 25th anniversary boxes.
The reprint sets were popular.
I remember he came in one day and was asking about Yu-Gi-Oh, and I said, the boxes are on the shelves, and he was like, "I'll take them all." And I thought, what? He meant it. He took them all. What else do people come in and ask a lot about One Piece and Dragon Ball, but a lot of the time they are looking for a lot of singles, which we don't have. We occasionally sell a box here and there, but I'm trying to think, is there anything else that's like stand out? We've sold the old like Magic deck again, anything if we've got things on the shelf. But
Lord of the Rings has been fairly popular for us, but not much other like Magic products.
I'd say online the other TCG stuff tends to be quite popular. We do have a lot of Dragon Ball sales.
I'd say Digimon's definitely at the bottom. In terms of like popularity, but then we also
don't have a lot of the new sets, so
like 6 different boxes.
But online the Star Wars Unlimited sets have been really popular. We have a little bit of Lorcana in store, had people asking for that, but Dean is really into Dragon Ball as well, so he's kind of our Dragon Ball expert, because I don't know anything about Dragon Ball. I'm so addicted to Pop Century, it's wild. I can't help myself.
I believe how expensive they are.
I was on PWCC on Sunday. I should have bought the 2023 box. It went for like $155. That's a bargain to me. I was paying $100 more last year for that box. So I like fun things. I like WWE wrestling cards. I like Pop Century. We are eventually looking to stock sports as well. A lot of mainly soccer, F1 like tops. Lines, but it's something we're going to work towards. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll have some sports in stock as well.
We have a lot more questions rolling in. I am starring them as we go. We intend, as long as nothing pops up, if you guys have to go, just let us know, but we intend to go for about another 50 minutes. It will be 5 p.m. our time Eastern. It will be 10 p.m. their time, so I will take all the questions we can get, so keep them coming. But let's see. So here's a really good one from Mr. Walrus. So what hobby-related thing in the U.S. do we have, and are we taking for granted? Aside from Nick, aside from Old School Pokemon, which we know we shouldn't take for granted as we do. But like being international, like
sort of stand out is just having big events.
I figured that was going to be the answer.
But as well, more so like closely travelable to. There's going to be something across the course of the 12-month year that you can probably drive to at some point if you wanted to. But like here, we can drive to a lot of things, but they're all like school halls, or like the events are so small compared to anything you guys have there. So just the ability to have something very big close at some point through the year.
Yeah, and I think especially in the US, like obviously it's not TCG, but obviously sports is so huge in the US, and you see I see the Dallas card show, and I see a lot of sports collectors having these massive events as well. Again, I just seeing that so readily available absolutely everywhere when it comes to collectibles. I think here that's something that's still really growing and hasn't quite got there yet, and I don't know if it ever will, like I said earlier, on that scale, just because we're so small. If it did, I feel like it would be like a once-a-year event if we had something that was that huge. We do have a Comic-Con here that happens twice a year, but again, that's very different from like a card convention. You find the odd, there's a few Pokemon sellers there. That's kind of like a really large-scale event. But I think the thing for me is LGS TCG stores. Someone came in today and said that they had to drive an hour and a half previously to the other side of London, and that was their only other closest store. Whereas I feel like whenever in the US we drive 20 minutes and there's, we find one, we'll always like map and see where we are.
Just type in Pokemon shop and there's something that you can sort of drive to.
Whereas here it's like they're few and far between. We've had people travel to us from the north of the country because they said, they've seen the videos or they want to come down and visit. But between us and them, and it might be a 5-hour drive, there might be one other shop that they could stop at. I think just the sheer quantity of stores and conventions that you guys actually have over there is it's like a big difference.
So everyone listening, make sure you get out to them and stop taking it for granted. I've been bad with like the LGS front, and I've mentioned this before on here and on some of my own content. Like at some point, surprising for where I live, because I live in New York, but 4.5 hours from the city, nowhere near New York City. New York is a big state. Within like 30 minutes, I probably have 3 or 4 LGSs, which is kind of surprising for where I'm at. I want to like just go to them and see like, hey, is there anything that you guys don't have enough of or have too much of? Like, is there any potential business we can do together? I'll be interested to see, like, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not, and I should just go check out and see what they've got going on anyways.
You got to drop some business cards off. I haven't had much luck anymore, but there's an LGS near me who doesn't do Pokemon at all. It's just Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, D&D, stuff like that. And so anytime someone comes in with a Pokemon collection, they'll give me, or they'll give them one of my business cards. So that works out well sometimes. I haven't had anything come in, or haven't had anything from that in a long time, but it used to work out a lot better.
Yeah.
Maybe they ran out of business cards. You got to go stock them back up. You got to go. I mean, bring them in like a slice of pizza and say, hey, don't forget about me. Here I am. Here's a stack of business cards too. Maybe you just haven't given them the FaceTime. I know Java Akuma though. I'll be seeing him in Charlotte. He's local to that area, but he actually has an LGS close to him where he has almost like a consignment relationship. They don't touch Pokemon at all. So he rents a table space basically, and he stocks it with Pokemon. It's kind of like a win-win because he subsidizes part of the rent for the shop, and he gets some amount of those customers that are looking for that stuff. They have stuff to buy now.
Yeah.
A lot of questions coming in. Shiny Outpost wants to know if you guys are hiring, and then if so, what positions?
We will be. Probably, where are we now? We're July, probably in the next month.
After Worlds.
So yeah, after Worlds, when we get back, we will be. Probably a couple of different positions actually.
Won't have anything planned until Chicago,
No.
so we'll have a bit of time to properly dedicate to it.
We didn't want to do anything too soon when we've got a lot of trips planned. It's hard to hire people, bring them in, especially when we're not there. And we do a lot of the day-to-day stuff. You'd need to show new people a lot of stuff. So we will be definitely in sort of like the next month or so, which is exciting, bringing new people into the team.
What are those positions going to be?
So there's probably going to be a couple. We have our online website for the store, and then me and Dean both stream, and all that packing gets done at the store basically. And between all of our streams and the store sales, it's a lot. It's packages all day, every day. So that would be probably one of the positions, just someone looking after that process. And then other than that, probably some sort of store manager role of some sort, front of house that can manage that whole process and overseeing just the general running of the store day to day, just keeping it ticking, keeping it moving for us.
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you have working for you now?
One current. So it's
full-time.
Yeah, one full-time employee, and then we have me, Dean, and Harry, obviously, who are in there every day as well.
And then we also have Mav and Alfie, who
we also have some part-time. They're not official employees; they're friends that help us out. So when we travel, they are able to step in and be there with our full-time employee, and they can manage it together. So Alfie, he is a collector. He likes Pokemon. He's actually a YouTuber. His specialty is Minecraft. But we've known him for a couple of years now, and he's actually streamed for us on Collector's Card House. We made a streaming profile for the shop just to see how that would work. That did really well. And he's great in the store. And then Mav is actually a friend of Dean's who helps us out at shows when we need it. And he's actually really into One Piece. So it's nice having some people that know some of the other TCGs that can help out when those kind of questions come into the store as well.
There's a lot of deeper questions coming in regarding being a full-time in this space. And I think here's a good one. We recently talked about that #1 trophy card, all the connection to that. Like, how do you separate, like, as a business, how do you justify tying up capital and what goes into like deciding what's PC and what's inventory and has to be sold?
Yeah,
I think for me that came quite like a drastic change where once the store had sort of opened and we needed the money for it and all that sort of stuff, the personal collection basically just didn't move.
yeah.
There was nothing being added. Obviously, as the store, it's important for like the rollover of constantly buying and selling and growing it. And I mean, we don't even take like dividends or profits or anything out of the company. Every time we make money, we just roll it back through into new and more product. So it's always been sort of our business model to roll it and grow it as much as possible, which obviously came at sort of personal detriment of not then having the sort of funds to grow the personal collection as much as we otherwise might have.
Yeah, I mean, I've like the things I've picked up recently have been really cheap and cheerful. I haven't picked up any like crazy grails, I suppose you would say. I pick up some fun things here and there on, you know, a few of the auction sites, but
and obviously when you're thinking about things like the #1 trainer, obviously it isn't the cheapest of items to buy and then just hold on to.
And that was before we had the shop and, you know, things were a bit different. And that's still a huge purchase for us. We had to make that decision. But the reasons we were doing that were quite personal. So we always knew that was never going to be a business purchase as such. That was going to be a personal purchase, something that we wanted to hold on to and always have that memory with. So yeah, I think it's just weighing up. I mean, the other thing I would say, we all collect different things. Dean is a Charizard collector. Obviously, Chansey's my favorite. There's a few big cards I'd like to have one day have in my collection. You like your Politoads. So personal collection wise, we'd all be going for very different things as well. So, and then with the business, we're obviously going for what does best for the business and, you know, what's going to make, you know, the money to keep business going.
I think it's become sort of more of a having to see something that really draws me in to now buy it, as opposed to before I was probably sort of going out of my way to try and find things and buying things that might not necessarily have made it into the personal collection. Now I've actually now got 2 copies of Pokemon Colosseum, the graded games, just because it was like one of the games I played the most when I was growing up, and those sorts of things I'd probably keep buying if like the right opportunity came about, when most other things have now stopped. But it's definitely changed a lot since the store. Yeah,
similar for me. Like, part of me justifying leaving my former more stable job, I parted ways with a lot of stuff. I needed to de-risk, and this will kind of pivot into the next question. I needed to de-risk me personally, my just overall financial sentiment, the way that I am. I wanted to have no debts of any kind. I wanted to be like a certain foundation built before, because having a lot of your net worth tied up in it, along with having your ongoing salary, your ongoing income coming from it, was just too much risk for me to justify. That said, I still have a full art Pikachu, not a #1, but I still have a #3 that I'm hanging on to. At one point I had 6 of them. Now I have 1. So yeah, for me, a lot of things had to be downsized. A lot of additions come in much slower. They're a lot more like sentimental, tied to an event, tied to some experience, as opposed to just like the rarest, most expensive, highest grade things I can find, because those things they add up quickly.
Yeah,
I think Rusty's the only one who can be full-time Pokemon and still have a massive collection.
Yeah, he's definitely the exception that proves the rule. Like he is doing it at a massively high level on both fronts, which is a very, very hard thing to maintain.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the question that I was gonna grab, this was the one I was alluding to. So like, me personally, it was like I wanted to have my mortgage paid off. I wanted to have a lot of things sorted out on that front. Were there any like, hey, for me to quit my job, I need to see a certain amount in the bank, no debts, like whatever it would have been?
I think at that point in time, we were in a more luxurious position where, because I was working a full-time stable job that could sort of cover us, we ended, I mean, you went full-time a lot earlier than we originally wanted you to. But I think we ended up just taking the leap I think I was able to cover like the expenses that we had at the time, and we just thought might as well try it and give it a proper go.
Like the job that I was in, it wasn't something I wanted to do. It wasn't a career as such. It was a job, you know, it was, you know, good money, but it wasn't something that I was passionate about, or I, you know, wanted to be doing for the next, you know, 10, 20 years, however long. So the opportunity was becoming a bit more and more sort of obvious to, right, when do I sort of like pull the plug or whatever and just take the jump? And like you said, you were still running your business, and we had that luxury that didn't have to worry as much if it all went terribly wrong, which luckily, touch wood, it hasn't. So yeah, and then obviously you making the move was a whole year.
Probably a bit more of a
I mean, it surprised me. I think it surprised all of our I mean, like your family, I think were very shocked by it. I thought you were going to be doing that forever.
I mean, it was definitely more of a freedom thing for me. I'm not making anywhere near the sort of money I was making before, but I have the ability to just pick up and go to a Collecticon and enjoy myself, which doesn't then come to the detriment of leaving a huge workload behind for other people to have to like try and pick up while I'm gone and all that sort of stuff. So it was very much a freedom choice, I suppose, more than anything. And obviously, while Chloe was sort of growing and
I needed help as well,
things and needing help and all that, it sort of just
it was all too much to do at once. So that
was definitely
here we are.
Choice.
Yeah, similar situation. My wife's income allowed me that additional just security, something that you guys don't deal with, and I don't know the full extent of all of it, but like in the US, healthcare being tied to jobs frequently, whereas over there I think it's more of a norm for everyone. But yeah, like me, and maybe someday, maybe 5 years from now, she pivots out of what she's doing to support more what's going on with this. Like who knows? But yeah, that definitely was part of my story too. And then here's another good thing that it rolls into. I know my answer for this. I guess we can get Nick's answer from this as well. Now that you're here, now that you're doing this, will you ever go back to the 9-to-5 grind?
No, I couldn't ever. When I think about what I did before, and even though I had double the amount of free time every evening, I could sit down, do whatever I want on the weekends. I wouldn't go back to it. I wouldn't go back to it. Doing it for yourself is a different ball game.
I think it was a little bit different for me because obviously I was already running my own company. So I was running it with my brother. So I had sort of
semi-flexibility.
Obviously,
but not.
like I was saying, anytime I went away, obviously it was sort of unfair because I was taking more leave than I sort of should have been. And then it sort of fell on him to sort of make up the slack if I went away for too long and that sort of stuff. So I owned it, but didn't quite have the freedom I do now. But I don't know.
I mean,
I think it would have to be in a similar sort of space, or I don't think I could just go back to like sitting at a desk and working corporate or something like that. But
could you go back to the old family business?
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you got really desperate, it'll be there. But
We'll see what happens.
And obviously, one thing we don't have control over is like right now the TCG market is on fire in a great way. We can't control that. Maybe things fundamentally change in 5-10 years. But me personally, I think there are other avenues I could take. Mr. Walrus in here saying I just make my wife get a second job, double up on the sugar mama status. But no, there are alternative things that I would go. But the common thread between all of them is that it would be like self-employed, having that freedom, setting my own schedule, being my own boss, because that's just such a huge part of this for me. I'm thankful and I'm lucky that what I'm doing today, still a few years later, I'm still making more money than I did in my former job. Someday that might change, and that will be perfectly fine. Obviously, there's some minimum amount that I need to make to justify doing it. Otherwise, I'll look elsewhere. But as of today, like for me, it was such an easy decision because it's like I left what I was doing. I enjoy it more. I have more freedom, and I'm making more money. Just easy decision on all counts. But I will do this for less money than I used to make too, because What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm the same. I can't see it. There are times that I do miss being on the ship, but I think nowadays it's more like romanticized. I don't think about like all the like day-to-day grind. I just like miss being out on the water and being on the ocean and going to all the different countries, but not thinking about working while I'm doing that stuff. So yeah, I don't think I love being able to build my own brand, have my own business, and kind of be in charge of my own destiny.
Yeah.
Oh man, just reading the comments. So Walrus wanted to know, with streaming being your main revenue source, how early did you see that was like? Do you feel like you predicted that was where everything was headed and that's why you got into it, or did you more get into it because that's what you enjoyed and then some amount of fortune that it like has done so well?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got into the streaming side of things is when I was working my job still, and I just started doing it one evening a week. It was never the plan. I think I did a couple of like little streams on Instagram where I was just like putting my own sets together, and then someone said, "Have you ever thought of like doing this for other people?" And like at the time I was like, no, not really. And honestly, being in front of a camera made me nervous. I won't say I've ever been the most like confident, like outgoing person. Like I was quite shy as a child, and like the thought of standing in front of a camera and speaking and filming myself wasn't like my comfort zone. But I gave it a go, kind of went well, and then thought, right, I'll just try this a little bit once a week. And then it kind of like snowballed a bit. One thing led to another. Ended up doing it twice a week. It was then really hard to keep on top of with the full-time job, all the packing, the wrapping and the preparing for it, and then setting up the other website. And it was never with the intention of thinking, oh yeah, this is a really good thing that I can see going on at the moment. Let's try this out and see where it goes. It kind of just happened naturally, and then it sort of started like taking off. I thought, oh, actually, maybe it's something that I can, rely on as an income source in a way. So yeah, it wasn't planned in that sort of way.
The very first PokiChloe video on your channel is a very different PokiChloe.
It's awful, yeah. It's me sitting in front of my old wardrobe in our old house, and like the camera angles aren't great, and it's filmed on like my old. Oh, it's dreadful, but it was the start. You got to start somewhere.
I like when people keep those videos up though and keep them public so that you can see the journey, see where it all started. I've accidentally shown like my personal information. Sometimes I've had to go back and edit and blur videos, but I've never taken a video down. Hopefully I can keep that streak going because I think it's just cool. I think it's cool to just see the whole journey for anyone. I mean, 3.5 years I've been on YouTube. The first 3 years worth of videos might get a cumulative two views a month or something, maybe. But I still like the idea that if someone wants to see them, they're there.
No, exactly.
I think that's a cool like time capsule to keep.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but Mr. Walrus is one of our mods here. He actually works for Nick. He does a bunch of stuff with Nick with his business. So he's looking to get some tips on how does he advertise Nick's stream in a better way to get more people over to his eBay Live.
Okay.
I actually think that's one of the most overlooked things from people who think they can just sort of start up and do it. I think it's like one of the hardest things to be able to get yourself out in front of everyone to actually then get enough people in your streams to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I think it depends what platform you're streaming on. Obviously, there's several different live shopping platforms now, and then you've got YouTube, and that's just people streaming for themselves, or Twitch, for example. My Instagram, I rely on it heavily for everything, for advertising my streams, for obviously showing my collection if I'm posting a new purchase, and also for advertising the card shop as well. The card shop has got its own Instagram that I mainly manage and run as well. But I can't explain the connections I've made and the people I've met through Instagram. And, that's how the world works now, social media.
When there was that Pokemon Instagram, Cole, it nearly all went.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They took that away for a little bit, but I managed to get it back. But it's where I started as well. I never started making videos on YouTube or doing TikToks. My Instagram account was my first point of Pokemon social media, where I started just sharing a card or a slab every now and then. So I think that's where I've known some of the people the longest through that platform. And it's even though my YouTube has a bigger following, I still really value my Instagram following for actually then advertising all the things I'm doing on all the different platforms. It seems to be like the central hub. I just feel like it's where everyone is, and it's where you get a lot of eyes. And even though, you know, I don't do any like paid collabs, or I don't really do anything paid for Instagram, I just value it because I think it's just got such a good reach for getting in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think one thing that we talked about earlier was like the LGS and the YouTube. A lot of people would presume that YouTube would bring more people to the thing, but you found in practice that some amount of people are finding about your YouTube for the first time. Some amount of those people are going to your Instagram, following there, going into your live stream. Like, I think one great thing about this is a lot of these things can just coexist together and just kind of boost together all in a combined way. And it's hard to know exactly where the next collection might come from. Like, but the more you're out there, the more outward you are just participating in the community, they can come from anywhere. Just a random Discord comment you make in someone else's, like it can come from anywhere. And having the visibility, like there are definitely pros and cons to everything. There's some amount of cons that can come with being so outwardly, but that's been a huge part to my business, being able to turn on the consignments and turn on some amount of sourcing more passively, not having to just browse eBay with all the other people doing that, the more competitive scene. Just having some amount of stuff coming straight to me is big. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to get the things working together so well.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch more starred here. We got a couple quick ones I'll take that have been up for a little while. So Retro wanted to know your favorite F1 driver, if you guys are into that.
So I don't really watch the F1, but you've actually been to the F1 a couple of years in a row.
A couple of times now, yeah. When it was at Silverstone 2 years in a row. I've got a Max Verstappen card, so I assume I'd have to, by default, choose your favourite,
yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like a bit of a glory hunter saying that, because he's like won everything over the last couple of years that I've watched.
I'd probably say Lewis Hamilton. He's the one I've kind of like known of the longest, and maybe when I used to watch it with Dad on a Sunday, whenever it's on.
I always used to find it like the weirdest thing to watch because it was just like 54 laps of the same thing.
And when you're there, you only see the car for a split second.
Yeah. And then you're just watching it on TV. Yeah, you're watching the Jumbotron.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, it's got such a huge following here. People.
I never really had too much appeal to it until I actually went to one, and then it sort of made me like appreciate it a lot more and sort
just
of
a weekend away, really.
And it was just a weekend in a tent. It was fun.
Good fun.
Do you do F1 at all, Nick, or?
I don't follow F1 at all.
The two names that you guys mentioned were familiar to me. I don't know that I could have named either on my own, but they sounded familiar when you said them. I grew up, the only fandom that I was born into, I think a lot of people are born into like which football team, which geographically or through their parents or someone.
Yeah.
I was born into NASCAR fandom. My parents were into NASCAR. They were into Jeff Gordon. So that's like the only thing I was into growing up. And then I became like football, hockey, things like that. But yeah, the races on TV, like even back then, I was not like the crashes were kind of cool to watch and whatever, but I was never. But going to the track, going to some of the super speedways, seeing the cars go by you at 200 miles an hour, like 1,000. I mean, and F1 is only faster, only like more powerful. It's crazy. But we got a couple more quick hitters. So favorite Powerpuff Girl. Can see those behind you.
Mine would be Buttercup if I had to choose. I don't know if you've
I couldn't name them.
Yeah, Harry doesn't know.
I used to hate the green one.
Okay.
I don't know what that's called.
Buttercup.
Oh, is that Buttercup?
Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup.
Blossom, yeah.
For £1 million, I wouldn't have been able to name you that.
I got in trouble last week on my own live stream because I couldn't name the 4 Ninja Turtles. I think I got 3 of them, but I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I could have named all 3 Powerpuff Girls. Oh, man.
Couldn't do that, I think.
No, you're a bit useless.
Danilo? Is Danilo one of them?
I actually don't even know.
Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, and then who did I miss? Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo. I got in trouble last time because I missed like the best one to both my wife and then actually PokeChef also. Nick, who's the 4th one that I'm missing? Help me. Nick, help. Now I got Nick in trouble too.
No, Leonardo.
I remember Donatello and
Leonardo, that's right,
Michelangelo.
yes.
After that, though, I don't remember.
I think I got Leonardo last time, and then I forgot Michelangelo. So yeah, even after looking up what I did wrong, I still didn't remember him. But I'm gonna get in trouble for that again. Favorite Polytoad art, and why is it art gold, soul silver? That is a solid one.
Yeah, I've actually got the heart gold, soul silver in a 10 and the staff stamp in a 10. That is actually one of my favorite ones. That's a really nice card.
Getting in trouble again. We got a lot of people jumping in with Leonardo. Oh man. Bubbles talks to animals, so it's the best one. Ding Ding wants to know what's Walrus's favorite My Little Pony. Oh, and he's got a quick answer too. He loved to see it. Let's see. So that was a few more lighthearted, quick hitters. Let me go more to the dark side. We did have recent unfortunate news in the hobby, the Dallas Card Show. I'm sure you guys saw something about it. That major theft. Owning an LGS, I'm sure we talked earlier about like the vendor POV, LGS owner POV. Yeah. Surely there are additional security cameras, things of that nature. What kind of considerations do you make? I guess it would probably be just cameras and insurance and all the normal things.
So, I mean, one of the things that drew us to the building that we ended up buying was it actually used to be a bank. And they managed to leave the old safe room in the back of the building. So we have a physical like bank vault with this like 2-foot concrete, and it's got an actual door on it. So
the walls are very thick as well.
So obviously that was a coincidence, but obviously it helped in our decision making to think it was like the best thing available to us at the time. But obviously aside from that and getting a bit lucky with it, obviously we've got like shutters, all like metal shutters on the front.
24-hour security system.
We've got CCTV all set up and run through the inside and outside of the building. And because it used to be a bank, it's also got like extra thick shatterproof glass. Like it's got quite a big glass frontage on the front of our building. But all of the glass is like shatterproof.
And it's covered by shutters as well. So it's like there's like multiple sort of measures. But the cameras were actually one of the things that we had put in first before there was even anything in the shop.
Yeah, it's just a shop.
It was, we wanted them everywhere, and they are everywhere. But yeah, it's just one of those things. These are the things you have to see. Like going back to spending a lot of money on the setup, those are the things you have to spend your money on. If in the long term you want to make sure you're covered. But I mean, touch wood, we haven't had anything crazy happen in the store apart from the one thing where Dean had his.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Dean had left something on the table, and a school kid came in, and we only knew this afterwards. He couldn't find whatever it was he left.
He was like wrapping up or whatnot.
Yeah,
and he had it laid out on the table with like the label and the items there.
And when he went back to it, he just kept saying, he was like, I don't know where this open pack of cards have gone. I was like, well, it can't have gone far. He started opening up all his other orders. I was like, don't do that because you're going to ruin all your wrapping.
Couldn't find it.
So I watched the cameras back, and this little school kid must have been about 10 years old, walks in, has a little browse around the shop, puts his bag on the table on top of Dean's order, and just scoops it up and walks out with it. And I was like,
it was like 3 obsidian that had been opened.
It was crazy. We've never seen the kid. Yeah, we've never seen the kid since, but he is banned permanently if he ever tries to come back.
Yeah, I mean,
the technology these days. You can probably like take his picture and tie it in with the CCTV and like be alerted if you were to walk back into your store. It's crazy, the technology these days, and like the doorbell cameras that are out there, the security systems that are out there, like the whole DIY type things. Definitely need to utilize those to some extent, especially when you have a physical like an LGS.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we sort of accepted at the point of starting the store was that things probably will get stolen that we won't even notice. So you just have to sort of.
But we're lucky we've got
into
very good cameras that we can watch everything back on as and when we need it. So they've definitely helped us a few times.
The only thing that sort of helps us a little bit in the UK, I think, is that we're always in a very residential area.
Yeah.
So if someone tried to like break in at night, there's apartments, there's flats, there's just constantly people like all around. Where if it's like a strip mall or like a business park, it might not have that same sort of amount of people nearby to hear it or see it, or it's a bit different here, where it's quite residential. It's quite built up.
Yeah, hopefully, as far as like on the convention front, I actually did watch like the security video from that.
I saw that.
A lot of thoughts about that. Like I know there's a lot of conversation, a lot of thoughts about it, but in some ways, having more people, I could almost see the argument that it makes you more vulnerable, because it's like, well, there's 3 people. I'm going to chat with this customer. The other 2 people have got it. And that's why you kind of saw the coordinated effort they made to do that. Yeah. Whereas if you're one person, you kind of like, hey, here's my case. I've got my eyes on it. I know if I step away, I have to make sure my wife is going to step in and watch it, or someone is going to step in and watch it. So just a bad situation all around. And hopefully we don't continue to hear too many more of those. But just the reality of the world we live in. Some stuff's going to happen like that with the when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got a couple more questions related to like the LGS itself. I don't know what would go on with this, but like, would you ever franchise the business? Would you ever allow people to buy into the brand that is Collector's Card House and kind of run and open their own thing for like a franchising fee?
I think the problem for me would be that I wouldn't see it being successful, because the brand is almost like Chloe and Dean. It's not as though you can sort of like take the Collector's Card House name and then suddenly it's just like a trusted store with someone else running it.
I think one of the questions we get a lot, like if people say they're going to come, like they're going to make a journey to come and visit the store, they'll say, oh, is Dean going to be there, or is Chloe going to be there? At the moment we're there a lot, but obviously in the future that's not always going to be the way. And then if then people, we opened it up to franchising and there were several Collector's Card House, we definitely can't be at all of them. So exactly. I don't know whether it takes away. The one thing I would like to say though is, without us being in the store, we have had a lot of positive comments about how we've laid the store out in a way where it's quite bright and airy and open. There's seating, it's modern. So I like to think that the actual feel of the store is also what people enjoy when they come in, not just about, seeing whoever's there. So I feel, I've had a couple of people say, oh, it's so nice in here, I can sit down, I can see everything clearly. So that if we were known to have these, bright, modern, big stores, that maybe that would be the draw, that it's, a really nice place to go and hang out, and, we have lots on offer rather than just me and Dean being part of it. But I think it's a tough one.
Currently not in the plans.
Yeah.
And then here's one. How soon do you think you will outgrow your current location? Like, how's it feel size-wise? Does it feel like it's already kind of packing in fairly tight, or do you think you have like future-proof it kind of?
I think it's like manageable at the size it's at. I think the problem with growing is just like having eyes on all the time. Like it needs so many more staff members to constantly be in like areas, and
goes back to the trust as well, trusting even more people to be in there and having all those hands.
The only thing I'd like more than what we've got is like a big empty area where we could put more tables and chairs and like host things better and that sort of thing. But in terms of actual like sort of selling space, I think we're at like a good level for what we've got.
Yeah, and we have for our size store, a good amount of seating, I feel, where people can sit down and hang out and open packs, or parents can sit down and have a coffee while their kids are sort of looking around the store. So
And Nick, do you still think someday, I know you've mentioned before, like potentially LGS, after this conversation, do you lean more towards it or less towards it, I guess?
No, I could see it. It would. My thing is, it would always be like more of the primary use for it would be like an office / shipping station, and then in addition to that, it would be a portion of that would be cases and stuff for people to come in. I don't think an actual like primary store would ever make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the market for a green card, so if you ever need a hand,
still a manager right here.
There you go. I don't ever see myself going the LGS route. A lot of me doing this was increasing the freedom, and in a lot of ways, as you guys have been talking about the whole chat, it at least initially, like maybe once you get the trust, once you get the right people in place, it can be automated more. But I just don't really want to go backwards on the freedom, especially having two kids now. Like I want to keep my freedom, set my schedule, and you can't really have an LGS and just be like, it'll be open when it's open. Come to the store and find out if it's open or not. That would not be a great customer experience. You're kind of more tied to the physical location and having a set schedule and all that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but we are going to be wrapping up within the next 15 minutes or so. I guess I'll say this now, just in case in case I forget to say it at the end. But we very much appreciate you both coming on and making time for this. I know you guys are coming right off your, I guess, talking about the hours, talking about the store. You guys kind of like wrapped up at the store and then came right here, right? We very much appreciate that. If you want to plug, like what your schedule is and how that's all set, and like what your day was like before this stream happened.
So our store opens at 11 a.m. So we close on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's like our weekend as such, even though normally that's actually days that me and Dean stream. We do all our packing and sort of other admin on those days. But the store is open 11 a.m. till 7 p.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Monday. And then on Sundays, it's 11 till 5. That's just the regulations of opening hours on a Sunday in the UK. But on a Sunday, as soon as the store closes, I stream at 5 p.m. I will then have dinner, have a nap, and then I stream at 2 a.m. So Sundays are pretty full on. But mostly in the week, we sort of wake up, feed the dog, take him out, head to the shop for, normally like 9, 10 a.m. before it opens. Obviously, there's a bit of prep that needs to be done before the store opens. There all day. For Dean, he doesn't live as locally as we do. He drives about an hour, just over an hour. So he's got a bit of a longer journey to come in. And same again, sometimes he'll even sort of come to my streaming room and stream because it's easier than driving all the way home and the traffic and stuff. But normally it's just sort of, long days in the store, and then the evenings are either streaming or time to catch up on emails and all the other bits. Because when you're in the store, it's hard to sort of be sitting at the PC. There's normally a member of staff on it doing some sort of barcoding or something for the shop. So I sort of do all my other sort of stuff for like the PokiChloe side of things in the evenings and on that Tuesday, Wednesday when we're closed.
Gave up gave up our jobs to have freedom.
And we don't have any freedom yet. Work that out.
but you're choosing these specific ones, right?
Exactly,
So,
It's fun. It's busy, but it's fun.
It's good. We can't complain.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, we very much appreciate you taking time out of what would have been relaxation and putting yourself on camera even further.
That's okay.
And Harry being in front of the camber for so long when you usually sidestepping it. We definitely appreciate it, and we definitely look forward to seeing you next weekend, because that's going to come real quick.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Maybe we'll take this as our last one, just because this one could be a little lengthy depending on where we go with it. But Nick, why don't you start us off here? Your employee. What's the main driving force of you to follow your dreams? What is the meaning of life?
What is the meaning of life? No, I would say for me it's I love the whole business aspect behind Pokemon. And just being able to, like I said earlier, being able to grow my own business is a lot of fun for me. And then Pokemon in general, it's something that I make money on, obviously, which is always nice. But it's also a huge passion of mine. Like without Pokemon, I don't know what I would do with all my time. I feel like I would be so bored on a daily basis. So while keeping so busy does get monotonous at times, it's also just like a huge passion of mine. So yeah, I really, really enjoy it until I stop enjoying it. I'm just gonna keep going, hopefully build up as big as possible, and just see where things take me.
What about you, Harry and Chloe? What's keeping you going in the morning? What's the grand plan?
Yeah, I think it's just, for me especially, obviously you've, worked in your own business before. I've never had my own business, or I've always worked for someone else. I've always, clocked in and clocked out as such. And I think it's the thought of having something that I can say that, you know, we've built together, something to look back on that will also set us up, you know, for our future as well, which is why so much time is put into it, which is why we, you know, all we do is work, quite literally. Like your mum or like my mum will be like, you know, you never come and visit us and you never see us. Like they're always coming to us to pop into the shop to say hi. But, you know, at the moment, well, especially while we don't have kids as well, you know, we, you know, everything time-wise really goes into the business. So I think just knowing that we can build it to, you know, whatever we want it to be within reason is what sort of keeps me going. Because like you say, it can be a lot being busy all the time. And, you know, we're lucky we both enjoy Pokemon and we enjoy collecting. If we didn't, I don't know if we'd have as much motivation sometimes to be getting up and doing this. So, and you know, the creating content side of thing, like I said, I was never like an overly, and I still don't feel like I am like an overly confident person that like just puts myself out there in front of everyone. But I have learned to enjoy that side of it and making the videos and filming the conventions and giving eyes to people who can't make it to those events and showing them what it's like so they can see. So yeah, like I enjoy what we do, and I think that's a massive part of it. I don't know if you feel the same.
I just want to wake up one day and actually have freedom.
Yeah, just be a beginner.
It's
and
it's been a tough ride, but
it has. I mean, it's not easy at all, but it's good fun.
Yeah,
it is good fun.
And it's rewarding too, like seeing the numbers go up. Like I'm a big, I've mentioned so many different times in different ways I've been able to tie in like the RuneScape. I used to play RuneScape. I still actively play a little bit. The leveling up, like the dopamine that comes from numbers going up. And at some point, I know that the numbers will stop going up. At some point, I will kind of like peak in gross sales and net revenue, whatever the metric that you base it on. But I truly have enjoyed every aspect of like, not every, I've truly enjoyed overall most aspects of doing all this and being my own boss and the freedom. And to me, like the main driving force is just the freedom that I can build in my life and then being able, having the kids now, interacting with them more frequently throughout the day. Like my wife is a teacher, my kids go to school, being able to be off and be more lenient with my schedule, like over the summers and being able to travel more. Like that's all a huge part of all this. Like that's my drive is I don't know how long this will all last. Like when I quit my job 3 years ago, I kind of knew I was quitting into a popping bubble in many ways. And I've been pleasantly surprised to find that the bubble didn't really pop, and maybe it wasn't even a bubble. Like absolutely certain components of it were a bubble that popped. And then other things went up and went crazy. But overall, like I mean, they printed more cards last year than they did 3 years ago, right? Like overall, like the stuff is still growing like crazy. Little things will pop up in between that just go kind of crazy. But that's part of all the fun and the interesting nature of this is what platform is going to buy which platform next and which ways am I going to have to pivot and always staying on your toes. Like there's always something exciting going on. So I'm just looking forward to optimizing, navigating it the best way that I can. And it's a fun game to play in, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with that, I think that's a good way to wrap it up because we are coming up on 5 pretty quickly. Anything else to say in closing? Anyone?
Thank you very much for having us. We appreciate the invite.
It's not often we actually get to sit down and like actually talk about all of this because we're just doing it all the time. So yeah, it's nice to be able to chat with you guys and everyone in the comments as well. So yeah, appreciate it.
Yep. Well, if any.
Nice chatting with you guys too. Appreciate you coming on. Definitely look forward to seeing you next weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you next weekend as well. It's crazy to think.
Yeah, thanks everyone in chat for making this a fun hangout tonight. Thank you, Chloe and Harry, for coming on. We very much look forward to seeing you next weekend. And if anyone out there listening is going to New Jersey Collecticon, be sure to say hi to any or all 4 of us. We always love to chat with people. So yeah, with that, we're going to call it an episode. Go check their links down in the description below. We will catch you all later.